Ling Chen nodded, and breathed a sigh of relief. He then continued to ask, what has the situation in Beijing been like these days? Guoya thought for a while, before replying, the Long family hasn't been able to confirm whether Master is alive or dead. However, they're evidently very afraid of Master. Although they believe that Master is probably dead, they still made you a wanted person in all of China, and set up many traps in Beijing. Right now, probably everyone in China knows of Master's name and what Master looks like. We highly recommend Master to change to a different identity, and to disguise himself when going out. And also, please don't come back to Beijing before you've fully recovered, Master. Ling Chen voiced his agreement. This was all within his expectations. He had come to Zhongzhou by jumping on and off a train, and he had covered his face while in Zhongzhou. With his identity exposed, and his wounds yet to have fully healed, he couldn't move as he wished. Come to think of it, why did Master go back to Zhongzhou? Guoya asked. Back then, we went to Beijing to look for a cure for Ruo. When Ruo was still alive, she had always wanted to come back. Now that Ruo has passed away, there's no reason for me to stay in Beijing, so I decided to come back. When Ling Chen mentioned the name Ruo, there was not a single person listening whose heart wasn't in pain. Guoya instantly cursed at himself inwardly for asking this silly question. He said, Master, about this, we're all just as sad as you are. Please don't be consumed by your grief. Little sister Shui Ruo loved you more than anything in the world, and although she wasn't willing to leave, but I'm sure that she wouldn't want to see you like this either, so, a faint smile emerged on Ling Chen's face as he replied, Haha, Guoya, who would have thought you'd be able to say comforting words like this? Don't worry, I've already made enough mistakes. If it wasn't for me, Ingya, Gui Dao and Buggy wouldn't have had to make those sacrifices, and none of you would have received those injuries. I won't do anything like that again, I'll live on, and won't selfishly seek death again. Guoya's voice became excited again as he said, Master, we're all so glad that you think that way. Master, are you preparing to stay at Zhongzhou? Stay at Zhongzhou? He wanted to stay here. After all, this was his and Shui Ruo's first home. It was where he had watched her grow up, as well as where he had created many wonderful memories with her. However, he simply couldn't stay here, everything here caused his heart to ache. How could he care for Tian like that? Moreover, it was simply too dangerous to stay here. I'll stay in Zhongzhou province, but not in Zhongzhou city. I'm going to the heaven on earth, Suhang with Tian. We'll probably live there. Ling Chen slowly said. Tian was looking at Ling Chen the whole time. She had heard her big brother and big sister talk about Suhang city in the past. Apparently every season was like spring, and was the most beautiful city in all of China. It was even called the heaven on earth. It was definitely a very nice place. Suhang city was to the south of Zhongzhou city. Guoya knew that Shui Ruo's death was a massive blow to Ling Chen, and although he looked and sounded quite calm, he had buried the pain and grief deep down within him. This sort of pain wasn't something that he could recover from in just a year or two. Perhaps the beautiful scenery would help him forget some of that grief. There are 3 of us stationed at Suhang city, I'll get in contact with them immediately. We'll have everything prepared for you by tomorrow. Has Master thought of a new identity to change to, as well as where he wants to live? Ling Chen thought for a while before replying, we'll keep Ling as the surname. Ling Tianya. Parents are overseas, and don't come back very often. He has 2 sisters, one is called Ling Shui Xian, who is also overseas with their parents, and the other is called Ling Ji Ruo, TLN, translates to Ling Remembers Ruo. Ling Ji Ruo lives with him in the house owned by their parents. Arrange for the accommodation to be under a mountain, near a lake. It doesn't have to be too big, I just want it to be peaceful and clean. Hearing Ling Chen's words, Guoya's heart ached. He knew that deep down, Ling Chen was unable to accept Shui Ruo's death. He could only nod as he replied, "Everything will be ready for Master when he and Tian reach Su Hang tomorrow. After we've recovered, we'll also head there. We'll leave around 10 people in Beijing to keep a watch on the Long family. If there's an opportunity, we'll rescue Buggy." "Right, Master, there's something else," Guoye continued, "this is something all of us have been curious about. Actually, that night, the person who picked up Master and ran out of the Long family's residence wasn't us, but someone dressed in black. If it wasn't for that person, Master would have been finished off by Xianyuan Dao." "A person dressed in black?" Ling Chen was also shocked. "That's right. At that time, that person brought Master out, and gave him to us. That person also stopped the injured Xianyuan Dao who was chasing after us. We later found out that that person is called Feng Xiaoyu, and is that Sword Emperor. She left after we had all left, and we don't know where she went. Right now, the Long family and Xianyuan family are desperately looking for her. We simply couldn't understand why she would help us." Ling Chen became silent for a long time as waves crashed in his heart. "Jia Wu, is it you? Are you really Jia Wu? You're not dead, are you really, the Sword Emperor? You saved me. Did you recognize me? Did you recognize me, who had abandoned you for all those years? Where are you now? How can I find you? Master? Are you all right, Master?" Guoye asked, after not hearing a response from Ling Chen for a long time. Ling Chen came back to his senses as he replied, "It's nothing. See if you can find where she's staying. If you find anything, let me know. Also, Ruo's body disappeared on that night, see if you can investigate that. Most importantly, have a good rest and look after yourselves." "Understood." After ending the call, Ling Chen spent much effort calming himself down. He said to Guoye, "Prepare some money for me, as well as some clothes for Tian and myself, as well as food, enough for 5 people." Guoye noted down what Ling Chen had requested for, then left. Very soon, a credit card, clothes and food were delivered. Tian had not eaten much for the past few days while she was caring for Ling Chen. Seeing the table filled with food, her saliva began to drip onto the ground. She almost leapt onto the table, and began to ravenously inhale all of the food. The food couldn't be compared to the food made by Ling Chen and Shui Ruo, but after going hungry for so many days, it tasted heavenly. Ling Chen sat beside her and watched as she devoured all the food. He told her to eat slowly while nibbling on a chicken wing. Although he had not eaten much the past few days, he didn't feel hungry at all, and slowly ate. That was because after all these years, this was the first time he had eaten without Shui Ruo by his side. He stared in front of him as he slowly chewed his food. His heart had long since drifted off to an unknown place. Very soon, the meal for 5 people was finished. Guoye could only stare in shock, and looked at Tian like she was a monster. He finally understood that Ling Chen did not request a meal for 5 people because he was too hungry, but because of the girl whose stomach was a bottomless pit. Tian, who had eaten until she felt like she was going to explode, leaned against Ling Chen with her eyes closed. "Big brother, are we going to that place called Su Hang tomorrow? Is it really pretty there? Are we going to live there?" Ling Chen put his arm around Tian as he softly said, It's too dangerous to stay here. We'll leave for there tomorrow. It's the most beautiful city in China, and Ruo really liked it there. I'm sure Tian will like it there as well. If Tian wants, we can live there forever." Tian replied as she leaned closer to him. Ling Chen didn't want them to do anything to Shui Ruo's room, so Guoye tidied up Ling Chen's old room. He never entered or exited through the main entrance, and would never allow anyone to detect him. He came and went without a trace, like a shadow. Two of Ling Chen's subordinates stayed in Zhongzhou, and they were in charge of gathering intelligence in Zhongzhou city, as well as looking after this home. The other person had rushed off to Beijing when he heard about what had happened, and was on the way back. Right now, only Gui Ci was in Zhongzhou. Tian quickly fell asleep against Ling Chen's shoulder. These days, she had suffered too much and had become quite weary. Even after he had woken up, she hadn't been able to properly rest. Ling Chen picked her up and placed her on the bed, then covered her with the blanket, saying, Tian, have a good rest. I'll be right here, and I won't leave you. Lying on the soft bed and listening to Ling Chen's comforting voice, Tian quickly fell into a deep sleep. When Tian was sound asleep, Ling Chen got up and soundlessly exited the room. He went to the bathroom and turned the shower to the maximum. The cold water flowed over his body as he closed his eyes, his hands pressing against his chest. Very soon, bright red marks appeared on his chest. Only when he was alone could he silently let out the agony from losing Shura. However, he would no longer choose death to seek release. Rua, without you, what am I meant to do in future? East Suhang, Jade Cloud Beach. Jade Cloud Beach was in the east of Suhang. It was one of the new districts in Suhang after the city was expanded 6 years ago. It was split into 4 regions: the Central District, Shizhizhou, Bamboo Sea Wonderland and Phoenix's Nest. Before this region was developed, it was filled with flowers and grasses, looking like a fairyland. But in just 6 years, there were already many high-rises and roads everywhere. However, much of the environment had been preserved, making it look like it was a city in a fairy tale. Suhang City had beautiful mountains and lakes, and was publicly recognized to be the most beautiful city in all of China. It was also said that it was the city with the most beautiful women in China. Within Suhang City, Shizhizhou had the majority of the beauties. Although Shizhizhou was only a residential district with not much scenery to marvel at, it was one of the must-go places for young men when visiting Suhang City. Because what surpassed even beautiful scenery were beautiful women. As such, Shizhizhou was always filled with people, and developed incredibly fast. The housing price in Shizhizhou soon became the most expensive in all of Suhang City. Phoenix's Nest was a region for scholars. 4 years ago, Suhang City's new university campus was built there, and became the main campus. At the same time, many high schools were constructed around it. It was quiet, elegant, peaceful and beautiful there, so this place became a prime area for schools and high schools. After 6 years, Phoenix's Nest had become the main educational region in Suhang City. The area that had been developed the least within Jade Cloud Beach was Bamboo Sea Wonderland. The Bamboo Sea Wonderland was an enormous bamboo forest, which was so large that it was referred to as a sea. It spanned 40 square kilometers, and was acknowledged to be the largest bamboo forest in all of China. The vast bamboo forest was simply breathtaking, and the air was so fresh that visitors never wanted to leave. Occasionally, one could see little streams and creeks flowing through the forest, adding to the beauty of the scene. Walking in here was like walking in a wonderland from a movie. As such, it was called the Bamboo Sea Wonderland. However, because that was the only feature of the Bamboo Sea Wonderland, and because it was so easy to get lost inside, it wasn't really a tourist destination of Suhang, and not many people visited there. Of course, there was another important reason, and that was because this incredibly vast forest was privately owned by a single person. This bamboo forest was grown many years ago, and it was owned by the richest person in Suhang City, as well as all of China and Asia, Li Yunzhe. Later on, he announced that he was gifting this piece of land to his daughter, Li Xiao on her 18th birthday. In the middle of the Bamboo Sea Wonderland, there was an extremely luxurious villa. It had its own water and electricity supply, and was more or less cut off from the rest of the world. Around the villa was a man-made lake, and the water was clear and sparkling. On the edge of the lake, there was a pavilion, as well as deck chairs, a rock garden and recreational facilities. Behind the villa was a large, empty area of land that could be used to grow vegetables or other plants. There was also a garden with many different types of grass and flowers, and each of them worth astronomical amounts of money. At the front of the villa was a large courtyard, which had car parks, cold storage and a tennis court. The villa had 3 stories, and looked extremely beautiful and modern. One could scarcely dare to imagine how luxurious the inside was after seeing the outside. Today, a new owner had moved into this villa. So beautiful, wow! After entering this beautiful wonderland, Tian simply could not calm down for the entire afternoon. She ran in and out of the villa, yelling her head off. Ling Chen watched Tian in amusement as he smiled. Ling Chen never expected that they would live in a place like this. He was extremely pleased with everything here. It was spacious, elegant, natural and peaceful. Tian should be very happy here, Ling Chen thought to himself. When they arrived, everything had already been prepared for them. The cold storage was filled with food, and even an entire year worth of clothes were waiting in their wardrobes. Ling Chen had been with Shura for 6 years, and she had completely changed him. Even his name had changed because of her. He didn't use his old name anymore, but instead created a new identity, with Ling still as the surname. With Ling Chen's personality and mental fortitude, he could perfectly hide any and every emotion. However, after losing his lover, who had been by his side for 6 years, everyone could see how much pain was in his heart. As such, in order to help him move on, his subordinates had put every effort into choosing the perfect place for him to live. They weren't in any lack of money. After coming to China 6 years ago, they had amassed more and more money. However, if Ling Chen continued to drown in his grief, what would be the point in having even 10 times as much money? As such, in order to find the perfect place to live for Ling Chen, it could be said that they used every bit of effort in their bodies. Gui Ci had also come to Suhang with Ling Chen, and met up with the 3 people stationed there. Gui Ci had been following behind Ling Chen the entire time. He couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Although Ling Chen had inspected the whole property, he didn't ask how they had obtained this property. Evidently, although Ling Chen seemed quite calm, he was still quite distraught on the inside. Ling Chen had promised that he wouldn't seek death, but his consciousness and awareness had been scattered. Otherwise, with how careful he was, he definitely would have asked how they managed to get this place for him. "Master, everything has been prepared for you. Your new identities are also ready. If you need any identification materials, just tell Xiao Qi and Xiao Ying, they'll be here soon. I need to get back to Zhongzhou before sundown, because Blue Tiger is probably about to reach Zhongzhou." Gui Ci said. Blue Tiger was the other person stationed at Zhongzhou with him. Xiao Qi and Xiao Ying were 2 of the people stationed at Suhang, and were both women. Ling Chen, who had zoned out, suddenly nodded, "Thanks for your hard work. If there's nothing else, you can go back." "Roger," Gui said, as he prepared to leave. He hesitated, then said, "Master, no matter what happens, we'll always be guarding your front and back. We are your sword and shield. If something happens to you, there'll be no point for a sword and shield, so. Ling Chen's eyes trembled, and he turned around and patted Gui Ci on the shoulder as he smiled, "Don't worry, I'll be fine. Also, I really like this place, and so does Tian. Thank you all. You must have spent a lot of time, money and effort to obtain this place. As long as Master likes this place, we're happy. I'm going now." It was me who was worrying too much. Of course nothing will happen to Master." Gui Ci laughed, then knelt on one knee in front of Ling Chen before disappearing in a blur. After Gui Ci left, Ling Chen slowly breathed out. He looked around him, and estimated how much money it would have cost to obtain this place. Perhaps it wasn't even bought with money. At this moment, 2 pairs of light footsteps sounded behind him. He turned around, and his eyes couldn't help but light up. Walking towards him were two women, who were around 20 years old. They were both quite tall and slim, and wore the same light-colored blouses and short skirts. Their exposed legs were extremely beautiful and seductive. They looked extremely similar, evidently, they were twins. Even within Su Hang, where there were beauties everywhere, these two women could be said to be peerlessly beautiful. There was nothing in which the two women could be differentiated. They walked in sync with each other and even carried themselves in the same way. This sort of woman was hard to find in Su Hang, and this was even more so for twins. It was undoubtable that any man would be inflamed with desire for them, and would want to make them his. However, that was all they would dare to do. The atmosphere they gave off made it so that most men could only look at them from afar, and most did not even have the courage to flirt with them. However, no one could possibly imagine how many people's lives had been ended by those beautiful hands. As they came closer and closer to Ling Chen, the two women's faces became slightly red, and their expressions became somewhat excited and flustered. They knelt down on one knee at the same time as they greeted him, "Master." The two women were wearing quite skimpy clothing, and Ling Chen could see their ample breasts clearly as they knelt down. Both of them were quite well endowed, and in this position, it seemed as if their breasts were straining against their clothes. Ling Chen's eyes were filled with the white flesh, which could conquer any man. Ling Chen quickly glanced away and slightly smiled. "Ling Qi, we haven't met in over a year. Thank you for your hard work, please get up." Ling Chen's calm voice caused them to feel quite disappointed. When they heard that their master was coming to where they were so excited that they almost couldn't sleep, and made themselves look as sexy and appealing as possible. However, Ling Chen's reaction towards them made them quite shocked. It seemed as if there was no room in his heart for anyone except the girl called Shura. "Master, are you satisfied with this place?" It had been over a year since they had met Ling Chen in the real world, and they had missed him terribly. They were extremely excited to be reunited with him, but they both knew how he was feeling. "It's fantastic, just like its name, it's definitely a wonderland. This is probably the best place to live in all of China," Ling Chen said as he smiled. Xiao Ying and Xiao Qi revealed smiles of joy. "It's great that Master likes it. I'm sure you had to expend quite a bit of effort in order to obtain this place, right?" Ling Chen suddenly asked. The looks, personality, expressions, voices and atmosphere that these two women gave off were much too similar even for twins. They were more like clones. No matter how he tried to observe them, he could never tell which one was Xiao Ying and which one was Xiao Qi. What he knew was that individually, they were quite average in terms of strength. However, when they worked together, even Guoye had difficulty against them. Not only did they look extremely similar, but it was as if their hearts were linked. They could tell what the other person was thinking, and knew how the other felt. Their teamwork was simply unparalleled in the whole world. The woman on the left replied, "This place belongs to the Li family, or more specifically, the Li family financial group's big miss, Li Xiaoshui. She usually manages the Li family's group within the virtual world, so she very rarely comes here. However, that doesn't mean she easily lets other people stay here. Despite this, because of us, she agreed to let us use it. And that's because we saved Li Xiaoshui in the past, and are good sisters with her." The other woman finished. Ling Chen was quite surprised. "You saved Li Xiaoshui in the past? It shouldn't be as simple as that, right? I doubt you would do something that had no benefit to you, and might even cause you trouble." The women laughed at the same time, in the same manner, as one of them replied, "Master's so smart. The Li Family Financial Group is the largest financial group in China, and even controls China's economy. The Li family has incredible power in Su Hang City, as well as most of China's south. Li Xiaoshui is Li Yunzhe's only heir. Because of her close relationship with Li Yunzhe, being close with her is extremely advantageous to us collecting intelligence. 2 years ago, the 4 of us performed an act. 7 demon and 9 demon acted as assassins who were targeting Xiao Qi, and killed all of her bodyguards. Just as they were about to take her away, we appeared and rescued her. Because of how grateful she was, she invited us to her place, and we gradually became friends. Ling Chen listened silently, then said, Xiao Qi's extremely intelligent and cautious. I'm sure she wouldn't believe you so easily. Of course she didn't. However, she couldn't confirm her suspicions. She tried to investigate us over 10 times, but couldn't find anything. After all, we don't technically exist in this world. Even we don't know our backgrounds, so no matter how much she investigated, she couldn't find anything. The fact remains that we did save her, and don't hold any ill will towards her. Plus, we only hid things from her, but never lied to her. She understands that people like us do not divulge our secrets easily, and so she came to trust us more and more. After a long time, she began to even tell us things that she wouldn't tell others. Doesn't that mean you've been exposed? Ling Chen calmly asked. 2 young women in their 20s, who were monstrously strong, no one wouldn't want to befriend them. This was so even for Xiao Qi. Don't worry, Master, Xiao Qi is the most intelligent woman we've ever met. She didn't tell anyone about us, including her father. She asked us to be her personal bodyguards many times, but we refused each time. Also, without her invitation, we never go to find her. We've never requested anything from her before, but she's asked us to help her quite a few times, and we were successful each time. She trusts us even more than her own relatives. Asking for this place was the first time we've requested anything of her in these 2 years. Of course, it's impossible that she would simply give it to us, we had to pay the appropriate amount of money as well. Xiao Qi felt that she owed us a lot, so she quickly agreed, and reduced the price by 10%, and extended the lease by 1 year. Currently, Master can stay here for 3 years. If Master doesn't want to leave after 3 years, we can find ways to extend the lease or to buy it permanently. Moreover, we also agreed that Xiao Qi wouldn't tell anyone that she leased this place, including her family, and that she wouldn't allow any of her family in here. However, that didn't include herself. She was adamant about this, so we could only agree. Qiao Ying and Xiao Qi's explanation had answered many of the questions in Ling Chen's mind, but had also raised many questions. He felt that something wasn't quite right, but he, who was so emotionally drained, didn't think too much about it. He just wanted peace. He nodded as he replied, I see, thank you for that. There isn't much for you to do here, so you can leave when you want. Also, say hi to 7 demon and 9 demon for me. Qiao Ying and Xiao Qi looked at each other simultaneously as they said together, Master, please let us stay here. Stay here? Ling Chen looked at them in surprise. Within the contract, it stipulated that we must also stay here. If there are third parties living here without us, she has the right to take back the property. Plus, all of the others agree that we should stay here. While speaking, the 2 women looked at Ling Chen with hopeful and expecting eyes. In Beijing, Guoye personally took care of all of Ling Chen's requests. In Suhang, Qiao Ying and Xiao Qi were the best choices for this. They were extremely familiar with Suhang, and could make life a lot easier for him. We know that what Master needs the most right now is peace. Don't worry, Master, there's a small residence about 200 meters to the south. We'll be living there. We'll come over as soon as Master calls, and won't disturb Master unless there's something urgent. The 2 women quickly said. They were desperate for this opportunity to stay near him, and were afraid that he would reject them. Ling Chen thought for a while before smiling, all right, do as you please. If you want to come over, just come over. You can also live with us if you want. There are many rooms here, and Tian also needs people to play with. Qiao Ying and Xiao Qi's eyes lit up, and they faintly blushed as they sweetly replied, "Yes, master." However, although Ling Chen had said that, they still lived in the other residence, although they truly wanted to move in with him. Ling Chen walked into the main hall, and looking around him, he thought of his old home. It had only been a few days, but it felt like it was a lifetime ago. This place was extremely beautiful and luxurious, but this home didn't have his Ruo. Big brother, who were those two pretty big sisters? Tian excitedly asked as she ran over to him. She was wearing a blue and white checkered dress, which looked great on her. They're big sisters who will play with you in future. Ling Chen replied. Tian's excitement caused him to smile. Do you like it here, Tian? Yup. Tian vigorously nodded her head. In the afternoon, she had explored almost every inch of the villa, and she enthusiastically replied, the bamboo forest is so beautiful, and this house is so nice. There's also a really pretty lake and a super big tennis court, as well as lots of toys, so there's actually such beautiful places on Earth. Big brother, are we really going to live here? Ling Chen nodded, we can live here for as long as Tian wants. Seeing Tian's red cheeks, Ling Chen's vision became slightly hazy. This was indeed a wonderland, and he liked the beauty and peacefulness of this place. However, was this place suitable for Tian? This place was extremely beautiful, but people could get bored of beautiful places. Tian was only a child, and at her age, she should be getting to know more people and exploring the world more. Living here was equivalent to being cut off from the rest of the world. It was peaceful, calm and relaxing, which was just what he needed, but was this place really suitable for Tian? Perhaps he looked for this sort of place because he was afraid. Shui Ruo's death had scarred him quite deeply, and he didn't want the same thing to happen to Tian. Deep down, he just wanted a place where he and Tian could live safely. Which one does Big Brother like? Tian asked as she looked at him. Ling Chen didn't think for too long. He pointed towards one of the rooms that wasn't very big, but was closest to the balcony as he said, I like that one. This was because within the villa, it was situated in approximately the same place as Ling Chen and Shui Ruo's room had been situated within their old home in Beijing. Tian realized this almost immediately, and she vigorously nodded, same here, I like that one too. Are you going to sleep in the same room as me? Ling Chen asked as he smiled. Of course I am. Would you make me sleep by myself? Tian said as she made a pity-inducing expression. Seeing how cute Tian was, Ling Chen couldn't help laughing. He knew that Tian, who had become accustomed to Shui Ruo hugging her to sleep, wouldn't be willing to sleep by herself. He looked at the time and said, Tian, I'm sure you're hungry after playing for the whole afternoon. What do you want to eat for dinner? They have almost everything here. I ate a lot during lunch, so I'm not too hungry, and Big Sister told me not to eat too much at night. What does Big Brother want to eat? Tian unintentionally bringing up Shui Ruo tugged at Ling Chen's heartstrings. However, he maintained the smile on his face as he said, I'm not too hungry either. I'll go make some soup for us. Ling Chen turned and walked towards the kitchen. The kitchen here was twice as large as their kitchen in Beijing, and was filled with cooking utensils and food. Does Big Brother want some soup? I'll do it. Tian hurriedly ran in front of Ling Chen, and spread out her little arms as she blocked his way. Her crystal-like eyes were filled with earnestness. This kitchen is really big and pretty, so I want to cook here. I'll make dinner, and before I'm done, Big Brother's not allowed to come inside. Tian ran like a little rabbit into the kitchen, and quickly closed the sliding door. Ling Chen rubbed his nose. Didn't Tian really dislike cooking? Before, when Shui Ruo tried to teach her how to cook, most of the time she would run off. The living room was quite big, in fact, it was a bit too spacious. There were many, many lights on the ceiling, and the TV screen was about 80 inches wide. After entering the room, the first thing people would see was a massive aquarium, in which there were many fish swimming. Clanging noises began to come from the kitchen, and Ling Chen could almost imagine Tian hurrying around in the kitchen. At her height, it was probably difficult to reach the pots and pans. Ling Chen walked over, but just as he began to open the door, he remembered Tian's words. He smiled, then walked out of the villa, into the backyard. He stood there in silence as he looked around. If Ruo was here, she would have really liked this place. She liked peacefulness, as well as bamboo, flowers and grass. If she was here, it would be like heaven for her. But, Ruo, I wasn't able to protect you in the end, and now even your body's gone. Let alone take you to this beautiful place, I can't even bury you. Ling Chen closed his eyes, and thought of the words Tian had said to him. In less than a minute, under Guoya and the other people's watch, Shui Ruo's body had disappeared. This was simply incomprehensible. In the afternoon, he asked Guoya to contact Mu Bingyao and ask for her side of the story. What she said was exactly the same as Tian. Shui Ruo's body had simply just vanished, and not a single one of them noticed anything. Guoya and the others had suffered quite heavy injuries, and would take a while to recover. After most of them had recovered, more than half of them would come to Suhang. After all, the most important place to them was where Ling Chen was. Ling Chen zoned out, and forgot about the time. After a while, Tian's clear voice rang out, "Big brother, dinner's ready." Big brother, where'd you go? Ling Chen came back to his senses, and he turned around. His body left a gust of wind behind him as he immediately returned back to the entrance of the main hall, and casually walked in. On the dining table were 2 small bowls and 2 spoons. Tian carefully walked out of the kitchen with a big bowl, and put it at the center of the table. Even from afar, Ling Chen could smell how delicious the soup was. Seeing Ling Chen, Tian's eyes lit up, and she called out, "Big brother, hurry and try some of my soup." Tian filled up Ling Chen's bowl and gave it to him. Inside the soup were cooked potatoes, as well as some ground beef. Sitting at the table, Ling Chen picked up his spoon as he stared at the soup. Did Tian really make this? She only knew how to eat, play and sleep. Tian sat opposite him, and looked at him nervously and full of expectation. Seeing him holding his spoon, but not eating, she became a bit anxious. She was worried that he did not dare to eat her food anymore. The first dish she had cooked had left a very deep impression on him and Shui Ruo. She bit her lips as she softly said, "Big brother, I know I wasn't very good in the past, and I couldn't do anything properly. I didn't learn how to cook properly from Big Sister, and my food definitely can't match up to Big Sister's, but I'll definitely work hard in future. I'll do my best to learn how to cook, wash clothes and clean up. I'll be as good as Big Sister and take care of Big Brother just like Big Sister had. I'll do my best." Ling Chen almost stopped breathing, and an incredibly warm feeling entered his heart. Seeing Tian's eyes, he could only move his lips, but no words came out. He picked up his spoon and took a sip of the first soup Tian had made. The soup tasted quite fresh, and if there was a little less salt and was cooked for a little less time, it would have been even better, but the warmth that entered his mouth, as well as his heart, was something that he would remember for the rest of his life. "It's delicious, Tian. It makes me think of Ruo's cooking," Ling Chen said as he smiled. He felt something misty blurring his vision. It must have been the steam from the soup. As such, he picked up the bowl and started to drink the soup in large mouthfuls. "Really?" To Tian, this was the highest praise that Ling Chen could give. Tian laughed happily, and Ling Chen quickly finished his bowl of soup. She immediately picked up the spoon, and filled up his bowl again as she said, "In that case, Big Brother should drink lots." "Huh, tonight, I'll definitely drink more soup than Tian," Ling Chen said as he laughed. "I must say, though, Tian's a little genius. Your soup tastes so good on your first try." Hee, of course, Tian was evidently very pleased. "It's because Big Sister taught me well. Big Sister also said that I'm the smartest girl in the world. So of course it's going to be good, and it'll become better and better, until I'm just as good as Big Sister." This supposed demon queen who had declared that she came to conquer the earth had completely forgotten her goal. Right now, she just wanted to take care of the man in front of her, and let him forget about his grief. Night fell. After all the days of anxiety and worry, Tian had not been able to rest properly, and was still not fully recovered. As such, after eating dinner, she went to bed quite early and collapsed. She had to tightly hold on to Ling Chen's arm before she could fall asleep. Ling Chen didn't feel like sleeping at all. The moonlight spilled into the room from the window, and he quietly looked at the sleeping Tian. Her little and round face had a slight smile on it, and her short hair was spread out on her pillow. She was so beautiful at only 10 years old. When she grew up, she would definitely be just as beautiful as Shura, and cause countless boys to fall for her. He would never forget that on the night Tian moved in with them, Shura had been leaning against him as she said, "How wonderful would it be if we could have such a cute daughter in future." Back then, if it wasn't because Shura liked Tian so much, he definitely wouldn't have allowed this strange girl to stay with them. Their two-person world had been completely disrupted, and she had brought quite a few troubles with her. He had never thought that they would become so dependent on each other. Tian couldn't leave him, and he couldn't leave Tian either. Within Tian, he found a shadow of Shura. If Tian was gone, even if Ling Chen kept living, he would just be an empty shell. Big Sister, Tian cried out in her sleep, and she curled up into a fetal position. 2 lines of tears began to trickle down her face. Ling Chen wiped the tears off her face. During the day, she had been so happy and excited. In front of him, she had suppressed all of her sadness and grief, only showing her joyful side. Only this way could she gradually help Ling Chen get rid of the sorrow in his own heart. However, she couldn't control herself while asleep. Tian, you're stronger than me," Ling Chen said as he looked at her. After softly sighing, he walked out of the room and over to the lake. Standing in front of the man-made lake, the wind was quite cool and refreshing. His heart became even more peaceful as he stood here. These days, he hadn't been able to sleep properly. Whenever he closed his eyes, he would think of Shura. He begged himself to fall asleep, so he wouldn't have to experience that pain, and within his dreams, he could meet Shura. Ling Chen squatted down and stretched his hand towards the calm surface of the lake. The water rippled out, distorting his image in the water. At this moment, Ling Chen stared at the mystic moon bracelet on his hand. Ling Chen's bracelet was always on his wrist, and his wrist was one of the most well-protected areas of his body. After all, if his wrist was damaged, he wouldn't be able to kill more people. Adding on the special materials used to create the bracelet, it was incredibly difficult for Ling Chen's bracelet to be destroyed. As such, despite all the fighting at the Long family's residence, the bracelet on his wrist was still fine. Mystic Moon, he had not entered that world in a long time. Back then, he had entered Mystic Moon to repay Yunfeng for saving Shura. However, now that Shura had passed away, he couldn't find any reason to go into the game. Slowly, he took off the bracelet. After that night of mass killing, it was the only thing on his body that had not been destroyed. He had almost forgotten about its existence, and holding it in his hands, he felt that the Mystic Moon world was so far away. He, who had entered Mystic Moon every day, could find no motivation for entering. Ling Er, Xiao Qi. Although you're all virtual creatures, but I'm sure your feelings are all real. However, I'm an irresponsible master. Perhaps I'll never be able to see you all again. Right now, I just want to protect Tian Tian. When we've both recovered, I want to take her to travel around the world, and see beautiful places and eat delicious things. I want to fulfill the agreement I made with Shui Ruo that year, as well as watch Tian Tian grow up. I don't want to lose anyone anymore. Yun Feng, Meng Xian, forgive me for breaking my promise. However, I will try to make up for it. Ling Chen gripped the bracelet and threw it in front of him. The bracelet arced as it landed in the middle of the lake, then sank down. Ling Chen turned around and started to walk back to the villa. At this moment, an incredibly soft voice sounded in his ear, "Are you really going to throw everything away like this?" Ling Chen suddenly froze, and turned around as he yelled, "Who's there?" On such a peaceful night, in such a vast area, even an expert like Guoye would be detected by Ling Chen as soon as he came within 100 meters of him. However, Ling Chen couldn't detect anyone behind him at all. That voice had clearly sounded out beside his ear. The voice from the darkness caused Ling Chen to become incredibly tense, to be able to stealthily approach him, and not let him detect even a bit of their presence. This was simply impossible. Even Instructor Hell wouldn't have been able to do such a thing. What sort of monstrous expert was this person, or could it be that there were really such things as ghosts? Moreover, this voice was somewhat familiar to him. It wasn't just a faint feeling of familiarity. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that it was a voice that he heard quite often. His shocked appearance caused the other person to giggle, and the voice once again sounded out, "Little master, can't you tell it's me?" Ling Chen. Ling Chen suddenly realized why this voice sounded so familiar. This voice was incredibly soft and lazy, yet also dreamy and seductive. Ling Chen froze, and even his consciousness felt like it was going to explode out of his body. The way she talked to him, the name that she had called him. This voice. It evidently belonged to that demoness Qiyu, from Mystic Moon. Impossible. Impossible. This was his new home in Suhang. In front of him was the man-made lake, and there was bamboo all around him. The bracelet had been thrown into the middle of the lake, and this was definitely not the virtual world. So what was with this voice? It was definitely coming from beside his ear, but there was not a single person around. Impossible. A character in the virtual world definitely couldn't appear in the real world. Ling Chen deeply breathed in, and said in a serious voice, "Who the hell's playing pranks? Get out immediately." Ah, the voice let out a small sigh of disappointment, and the space in front of Ling Chen twisted. His eyes widened, and a black figure, defying all logic, appeared in front of him. Although it was quite dark, he could clearly see her face and body, as if she was separated from the darkness. What he saw was a bewitchingly beautiful face, as well as an incredibly seductive and voluptuous body. She was wearing an entire body of black clothing, and the clothes on her upper body were extremely tight against her chest. Just by standing there, this demoness looked so beautiful and alluring that almost every man would go crazy for her. Looking at her, Ling Chen's eyes widened to comical proportions, and his throat became extremely dry. He was so shocked that he couldn't utter a single word. "Little master, you're so heartless. It's only been such a short period of time, but you can't even tell it's my voice," the woman said in a coy voice as she made a sad expression. Qiyu. Ling Chen opened and closed his mouth 3 times before he was able to finally yell out her name. The sound of footsteps rapidly running over sounded out in the distance, and Qiyu's image immediately vanished. Ling Chen stared at where Qiyu had been, completely dumbfounded. What was going on? How could Qiyu appear here? Just what was happening, what had just happened couldn't be explained by logic or science. This sort of thing happened only in movies and comics. Could it be that he was hallucinating? Perhaps he was too mentally drained. However, What had just happened was far too realistic. What was going on? Qiyu was definitely a person within a virtual game. No, she didn't even count as a person, she was a virtual spirit. Two identical figures came closer and closer, and reached Ling Chen at the same time. Of course, it was Xiao Qi and Xiao Ying. They were still wearing their pajamas, as they had hurried over as fast as they could. They looked around in alarm, and worriedly asked, "Master? What happened? Are there intruders?" Although they were living quite far away, it was the dead of the night and Ling Chen's yell had traveled clearly into their ears. They had immediately rushed over as soon as they had heard him. Ling Chen immediately controlled his expression and calmly said, "It's nothing. It's just that something landed into the lake and I was too suspicious. Go back and get some rest. I'm more than half healed, so within Su Hang, there's nothing that can threaten my life. Don't worry about it." Although they felt something wasn't quite right, since Ling Chen had said everything was fine, they swiftly departed. After they were far away, Ling Chen took a deep breath and said, "Come out." The space in front of him twisted, and the figure once again appeared. Ling Chen took this opportunity to examine her closely. Her appearance, clothes, expression and her voice. Definitely all belonged to Qiyu. Even though he had incredible mental fortitude, seeing a virtual character appear in real life caused him to become extremely shocked, and his entire body was cold. No one could accept such a thing could actually happen in reality. You're really Qiyu?" Ling Chen asked as he gritted his teeth. In the darkness, he forcefully pinched himself, which hurt quite a lot. This definitely wasn't a dream. Qiyu revealed a smile that was much too familiar to Ling Chen. Out of all the women he had met, Qiyu was definitely the most beautiful and bewitching one out of all of them. She was the only woman who could easily cause him to lose control of his emotions. Ling Chen believed that this sort of woman could only appear in the virtual world, because it was simply impossible for such an enchanting woman to exist in the real world. However, this woman had actually appeared in reality. "Of course it's me. Could it be that you don't recognize me after only 10 days? In the other world, Little Master and I were together all the time." She was indeed Qiyu, at least, Ling Chen couldn't find anything that suggested otherwise. Apart from Qiyu, who could this coy seductress be? He shook his head, and stared at her, trying to look through her. As he concentrated, he could faintly see the garden behind her, her body seemed to be semi-transparent. He did his best to keep himself calm, and maintained a serious expression as he asked, "Tell me, why did you appear here?" "You're definitely," Ling Chen's reaction caused Qiyu to become even more amused. She glided forwards, closer towards Ling Chen, as she said, "Of course it's because Little Master hasn't come to visit me in a long time. I really missed Little Master, so I came to visit him." Ling Chen gritted his teeth as he frowned. "You know what sort of answer I want. If you're really Qiyu, you should be a virtual character. How is it possible that you're here? This is Earth, reality, so what's going on?" "Oh." Qiyu's smile became even wider as she asked, "Earth is reality, can't the mystic moon world also be reality?" Ling Chen, Qiyu's words completely stupefied Ling Chen. He immediately replied, "Mystic Moon is a virtual game created by the Cosmos Corporation. Everything's just a bunch of numbers. Could it be that technology has advanced so much that virtual creatures can be projected into the real world? Hee. Little Master has quite the imagination. However, you're completely wrong. At least, the Mystic Moon world that I know is completely real. It's just that it's not as advanced as your world, but its energy levels are greater than your world by many times. I just don't know how our Mystic Moon world became a virtual game for you humans though. I don't want to know the answer either. All I know is that 10 years ago, the Mystic Moon world was covered by a mysterious energy, and was gradually changed. In 10 years, the entire workings of Mystic Moon, as well as countless creatures' identities, knowledge and memories were all changed. Countless objects were also modified through numbers. Now, Mystic Moon has become a world made of numbers. That mysterious energy was so powerful that it could even modify living beings' consciousness. I was one of the few people who detected these changes. Does Little Master understand what I'm talking about? Ling Chen, email protected, $%. Why can't Little Master understand what I'm saying? To be honest, I don't really know what happened either. However, me being able to appear in front of Little Master means that the Mystic Moon world isn't just a virtual game, right? Qiyu slowly said. Ling Chen listened with his mouth open. He simply couldn't understand what Qiyu was talking about. Modified? World made of numbers? What was she on about? However, Qiyu had appeared in front of him, this was the undeniable truth. Seeing that Ling Chen was completely dumbfounded, Qiyu continued to speak, I don't understand what happened to the Mystic Moon world either. However, the truth is bound to come to light sooner or later. What that truth is, doesn't really matter to either of us. I didn't come to find Little Master just because I missed him, there's something much more important. I'm sure Little Master will be interested in it too. What is it? Ling Chen asked. Right now, his mind was in complete chaos. He simply couldn't understand how Qiyu was here. Lil Sis Shui Ruo's body is with me. Or more accurately, it's within the lunar scourge. Qiyu uttered a sentence that completely blew Ling Chen's mind. With you? You're saying you took Shui Ruo's body? Ling Chen lurched forwards and tried to grab Qiyu, but she was only an image. He yelled, why is she with you? How could she be in the lunar scourge, what do you want? Little Master, please calm down. I put Lil Sis Shui Ruo's body into the lunar scourge because the space within the lunar scourge is special. It's impossible to put living creatures in it, but corpses are fine. Because I put her body into the lunar scourge, it will be preserved for a while. Otherwise, in the place where Little Master was living, her body wouldn't have been able to last for very long. Everything that Qiyu said sounded completely impossible. These days, he had been pondering unceasingly as to how Shui Ruo's body had disappeared, as well as who would be able to take away the corpse. And now, the supposed truth that he had just been told was something no one would be able to believe. If he hadn't seen Qiyu appear and disappear, he would never believe what she had said. He gritted his teeth as he asked, are you saying that the lunar scourge can also appear here? And what are you going to do with Shui Ruo's body? Immediately return her to me. Only with things involving Shui Ruo would Ling Chen lose control of his emotions. Qiyu sighed as she replied, Little Master, do you really want me to return Lil Sis Shui Ruo to you? In such a climate, her body will decompose very quickly, and there won't be even a chance for her to come back to life. Doesn't Little Master want to revive Little Sis Shui Ruo? Ling Chen. Ling Chen felt as if he had been struck by lightning. The word revive struck him deep in his heart, and spread to every part of his body. He stared at Qiyu as he said in a trembling voice, what did you say? What do you mean by revive? Explain yourself. It's very simple, Qiyu said. Ling Chen's reaction was exactly what she had expected. The only thing that could possibly make him react like this was that girl. She casually replied, what I'm saying is that since Little Master likes Little Sis Shui Ruo so much, then he should revive her. Little Master clearly knows how to bring her back to life. Ling Chen almost stopped breathing as his heart trembled, and his blood began to boil. He yelled, you're saying Ruo Ruo can be revived? How? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Hurry up and tell me. It was impossible for a dead person to come back to life, this was something that even toddlers knew. If people could come back from the dead, then this world's order would have been destroyed a long time ago. Resurrection from the dead only happened in stories. No one would believe what Qiyu was saying. However, hearing Qiyu's words, no matter how impossible they seemed, Ling Chen wanted to believe that they were true. He wanted to believe that there was a method for reviving Shui Ruo. He so desperately believed that it was true. Did Little Master really forget? I definitely told Little Master before. It was the second time when Ling sacrificed herself for Little Master. Do you really not remember? Qiyu said. Back when Ling sacrificed herself for him for the second time. Ling Chen's mind had been completely thrown into chaos by Qiyu's words. The words that Qiyu said to him at that time surfaced in his mind as he stared at her in shock. Are you saying? Qiyu smirked, looks like Little Master finally remembered. Back then, after Ling used the 9 Suns' heavenly wrath and was about to die, Little Master asked me how she can be saved. I told Little Master 2 methods. The first was to find the vermilion bird and use its soul flame to save Ling. The other method was to revive Ling after she had died. Ling Chen still clearly remembered the methods she had told him. Life and death are 2 important ingredients to the basic order of a world. Resurrecting from the dead is something that goes against the heavens. If someone really did rise from the dead, there would be severe consequences on the natural world's order and laws. As such, there should not be such a thing. At least, I've never heard of anyone resurrecting after their soul has been destroyed. However, in the ancient mystic moon world, there was a legend. The legend says that if one can gather 4 important ingredients, they'll be able to bring someone back from the dead. Does Little Master remember what they are? Ling Chen's breathing became irregular as he slowly said, the blood of moon goddesses, the soul of the demon emperor, the tears of Shura, the scourge of the moon. These were the things that Qiyu had mentioned to him in the past. That's right. The moon gods represent utmost holiness, the demon emperor represents utmost evil, the Shura represents utmost hatred. The moon god's blood, demon emperor's soul and Shura's tear contain the power of holiness, evil and hatred. It is said that when these 3 powers are combined with the lunar scourge, heaven-defying power can be released, which can change the natural laws and cause a being to come back to life. However, causing someone to rise from the dead definitely goes against the heavens, and it's unlikely that such an unnatural thing can happen. As such, this is only a legend, and no one has successfully accomplished it before. It's very well possible that it was just a story made up by a bored person. Well, is Little Master willing to believe this legend? It's probably quite difficult for Little Master to believe a legend about resurrection from a virtual game. Ling Chen, moreover, even if this legend is true, obtaining even one of the ingredients is incredibly difficult. With how powerful the Moon God clan is, who would be able to obtain a moon god's blood? As for the demon emperor, even the moon gods fear him. Plus, he died over 10,000 years ago, how can someone find his soul? As for the tear of Shura. Shuras are the rarest creatures in existence, and as soon as one appears, they are exterminated by the heavens, who would be able to obtain Shura's tear. However, Little Master possesses the 4th, and most important, ingredient, the lunar scourge. Notwithstanding, the lunar scourge requires its 12 god orbs in order to fulfill the legend. However, that doesn't mean the saint orbs aren't important. If the 3 saint orbs are missing, the revived creature will be lacking in power, and their memories, as well as senses will be affected. Seeing Ling Chen's expression becoming more and more intense, Qiyu continued to leisurely speak, Little Master, do you understand? What I just told you was just a legend from a virtual game, and it's even more laughable than a joke, and even more difficult to accomplish than reaching the skies. In fact, it's not even verifiable. Not being able to accept it or believe it is completely normal. Any earthling would take it as a joke. However, as Little Master's slave, all I can do is tell this legend to Little Master. The only evidence I have is myself, the fact that I'm able to appear in this world. If Little Master really wants, I can show him Lil Sis Shui Ruo's body right now. The mystic moon world took the Cosmos Corporation 10 years to develop. Everyone knew about its name and what it was. In fact, most people spent more time in that world than in the real world. Indeed, this virtual world was created by humans. Humans had never risen from the dead before, and never would. However, a creature, no, a spirit from the virtual world had appeared before his eyes in the real world, and told him a legend from the virtual world about resurrection of the dead. Anyone who heard it would take it as a joke. However, if there was a single person in the world who would believe such a legend, it was Ling Chen. He stared unblinkingly at Qi Yu as he said each word at a time, "I believe, of course I believe. You even appeared before me, what isn't there to believe? I'll always believe that Rua won't leave me." Qi Yu, did Qi Yu's appearance cause him to believe that implausible legend? Of course not. It was Ling Chen himself who desperately wanted to believe that there was a method to bring Rua back to him. To him, there was nothing more important than being with Rua. If it could really bring Rua back to life, no matter how silly and laughable it seemed, he would believe it. He would do all he could to fulfill this implausible, unconfirmed legend. The blood of moon goddesses, the soul of the demon emperor, the tears of Shura and the scourge of the moon. Only when they were together could Rua be revived. This thought took root deep within Ling Chen's heart. His soul, which had sunk into darkness due to Rua's death, finally found a bit of light. No matter what it took, he would definitely revive Rua. No matter if it was true or false, no matter if in the end it was all for nothing, as long as there was a slight sliver of hope, Ling Chen definitely wouldn't give up or back down. "Looks like the little master has made his decision," Qi Yu said as she smiled. She had long since predicted that Ling Chen would make such a decision. His feelings towards Rua were incredibly deep for her. He had actually believed the words that Qi Yu had spoken. If he really decided to follow that path and collect the moon goddess's blood, the demon emperor's soul and Ashura's tear, it could take him 10, 100, or even 1,000 years. Perhaps, the rest of his life would be spent on this quest, and he may even end up empty-handed at the end. However, he still made this decision, and the look in his eyes was of incredible determination. Although Qi Yu had been with him for a long time, he still surprised her from time to time. This was not the first time he had shocked her. He could be heartless at times, and incredibly kind at others. However, in the end, he was a true and loyal person. Perhaps that was why, the people around him were willing to follow him. Qi Yu continued to speak, "Little master, aren't you afraid that this is all just a story? Moreover, to you, the mystic moon world is just a virtual world. Even if you can believe that legend, I can't confirm if it's true or not. Also, there has never been a record of anyone being revived before. It's really possible that all your effort will be for naught." Her words did not cause Ling Chen to hesitate at all. In fact, his eyes became even more resolute. "Who cares about that? Since you were able to appear here, that's enough. If I can bring Rua back, I'm willing to believe all of this." Ling Chen took in a deep breath as he continued, "Qi Yu, I have the lunar scourge, so tell me, how can I obtain the 3 other ingredients, the moon goddess's tears, the demon emperor's soul and Ashura's tear? Only you can help me with this. You're my master, so I'll definitely help you with that," Qi Yu said as she giggled. Since Little Master was able to conquer the lunar scourge, Little Master definitely isn't an ordinary person. Now, you're even the successor of the Fengchen sect, and have the incredibly lucky Xiao Qi following you around. Perhaps Little Master really will be able to create a miracle. After all, Little Master has created quite a few already. Ling Chen didn't want to hear any of this useless waffle. He directly asked, "About the moon goddess's blood, is that the blood of order, fate and freedom, the 3 current moon goddesses? Do I just need blood from one of them, or all 3? Of course it's all 3. They each respectively wield a portion of the highest moon god's power from back then. Only by combining their blood will the legend be fulfilled. you can't lack even a single one of them. Qiyu replied. Each of the moon goddesses was incredibly powerful, obtaining the blood from a single one of them would be almost impossible, let alone all three. All three, so all I have to do is injure them, then collect their blood? Ling Chen gritted his teeth. When he received the lunar scourge, he was told that he was fated to be enemies with the moon god clan. If he couldn't defeat them or destroy them, it would be himself and the lunar scourge that would be destroyed. And now, he was required to collect their blood. Surprisingly, Qiyu shook her head as she said in a coy voice, "Of course it's not that simple. Obtaining the moon goddess's blood isn't as simple as injuring them or even killing them. This is because the moon goddess's blood refers to their virgin blood." Ling Chen, email protected, $%. Completely shocked, ha ha ha, did that give you a fright? Qiyu couldn't help but laugh, however, what I just said wasn't a joke. Only with the three moon goddesses' virgin blood combined together can you release the power of utmost holiness. Moreover, you need the virgin blood of all three of them. It's much harder than killing them, right? Ling Chen could feel a headache coming on. This was simply ridiculous. He shook his head as he asked, then, what about the demon emperor's soul? Where can I find it? Qiyu suppressed her laughter as she casually explained, in the ancient times, demon gods ran rampant, and any of their souls could be counted as the soul of a demon emperor. However, the true gods and demon gods destroyed each other, and disappeared from the world. Now, there aren't any more true gods or demon gods, only the moon god clan and the night demon clan which count as demigods. The last demon bloodline was exterminated 10,000 years ago, which was the demon beast clan. Their leader was the last creature in the Forgotten Continent that possessed a demon soul. But, since it's already dead, does that mean it's impossible to find the soul of a demon emperor? Ling Chen asked. Nope, Qiyu smiled as she shook her head. 10,000 years ago, the demon beast clan was exterminated by the moon god clan. However, the demon beast clan had a secret that even the moon god clan doesn't know about. What was the secret? The demon emperor wasn't an idiot. He knew that his demon beast clan couldn't survive in the Forgotten Continent, so before they were destroyed by the moon god clan and the fairy clan, he prepared an escape route for himself. He separated his demon soul into 10 parts, and hid them within 10 pieces of jade. As long as these pieces of jade weren't destroyed, then he could be revived with his soul in those pieces of jade. Those 10 jades can be found on the 10 ancient demon beasts. Each of them has one, and these pieces of jade are more important than their own lives. 10 ancient demon beasts, jade, could it be? Ling Chen suddenly thought of the war demon beast that had been killed by Shi Ling and the shadow demon beast that had been killed by the Shura. After they had died, they had each dropped a piece of jade that looked like a C. Each of the jades was imprinted with war and shadow, respectively. That's right, Little Master has already obtained 2 of the demon jade hooks from the war demon beast and the shadow demon beast. These 10 pieces of jade are things that the 10 ancient demon beasts must protect with their lives. Only by killing them can you obtain the jade in their possession. Every year, the 10 ancient demon beasts meet up, so they can gather the 10 demon jade hooks and fill them with their power, so as to maintain the soul of the demon emperor. The 10 ancient demon beasts have never entered into human territory all these years, and haven't caused any trouble. As such, they've been able to escape the notice of the moon god clan, who don't even know of their plan to revive the demon emperor. Currently, 10,000 years have passed, but the demon emperor hasn't been revived, because the 10 ancient demon beasts are missing something important. The 10 ancient beasts gathered once every year. Ling Chen remembered that back when he had entered the Lonely Spirit Ridge, he hadn't encountered any danger. Qian Gun Gun had said that guy would leave for a bit of time each year. It seemed that back then when he had gone to the Lonely Spirit Ridge, that was when the 10 ancient demon beasts were meeting. Something important? What is it? Qiyu replied, lake water from the underworld blood lake at the bottom of the underworld. Lake water, from the underworld blood lake? Ling Chen said to himself. The underworld blood lake sounded familiar to him. He instantly remembered the 3 psychic flowers he had bought from Qian Gun Gun. Apparently they grew beside the underworld blood lake. The underworld god mysterious blood metal that he had bought from Qian Gun Gun had also come from the bottom of the underworld blood lake. The underworld blood lake is located in the innermost region of the underworld, and is one of the 3 forbidden areas of the underworld. Unless the underworld king personally permits it, no living or dead creature can go there. The underworld blood lake's existence precedes that of the underworld itself, and countless remains are buried there. It is filled with the energy of countless souls and spirits. After 10,000 years, not even the underworld king knows how many bodies have been buried in there, and how much energy has been accumulated. If the 10 ancient demon beasts can obtain lake water from the underworld blood lake, and pour it over the demon jade hooks when they are together, they will be able to awaken the demon emperor. It's just that the underworld is like a separate world, and only dead creatures and spirits can enter. The only living creature that is able to enter and exit from the underworld is that Qian Gun Gun. The underworld king is not weaker than any of the moon goddesses, and with the incredibly destructive underworld god canon, not even the moon god clan dares to make any trouble for the underworld. Although the 10 ancient demon beasts are powerful, but charging into the underworld would be tantamount to suicide for them, let alone reaching the underworld blood lake. As such, although 10,000 years have passed, they haven't been able to obtain the lake water from the underworld blood lake. Ling Chen could only listen in silence. Resurrection from the dead, going against the heavens. Since it was going against the heavens, how could it be easily accomplished? The moon goddess's blood, referred to the virgin blood of all 3 of the moon goddesses. The demon emperor's soul, required killing all of the mysterious god grade 10 ancient demon beasts, as well as entering the underworld to acquire lake water from the underworld blood lake. This sort of goal seemed almost impossible. The tear of a Shura. Shuras were incredibly rare, and usually, once a Shura appeared, the entire world would be thrown into disaster. The catastrophe created by the last Shura remained within many people's memories, the Shura that had obliterated 10% of all living creatures on the Forgotten Continent was simply terrifying. For there to be another Shura in the Forgotten Continent, and to obtain his tears, was this even possible? Seeing Ling Chen's expression, Qiyu knew what he was thinking. Obtaining each of these 4 ingredients was as difficult as reaching the heavens. Even the experts of the Forgotten Continent wouldn't have any hope in obtaining even a single one of them. Qiyu had given Ling Chen a wonderful goal, as well as much hope, but the path to that goal was simply too arduous and cruel. However, despite this, she could only see determination in Ling Chen's eyes. Even so, Ling Chen would do all he could to fulfill this legend. After all, there was nothing else he could do. Qiyu sighed inwardly as she felt a bit conflicted. She continued to speak, "Little master, if you've really made your decision, then the first thing you should do is find the 12 god orbs and 3 saint orbs of the lunar scourge. Only when you've completed the lunar scourge and attained greater power will you have a chance at obtaining the other ingredients." However, this didn't quite apply for the tears of a Shura. A cold breeze blew past, causing ripples on the surface of the lake. Ling Chen looked over towards the middle of the lake, where he had thrown his bracelet. The lake was quite still, so his bracelet probably directly sank downwards. Ling Chen kicked off his shoes, and jumped into the lake. He dived downwards, towards where his bracelet had fallen. As the strongest reaper, how could he not be proficient at swimming as well? The man-made lake was quite shallow. Ling Chen quickly found the bracelet, and burst out of the water. When he returned to the bank of the lake, he pressed one of the buttons, and the small screen lit up with the time. Not only was the bracelet incredibly tough, but was also completely water-resistant. Ling Chen gripped it in his hand. This time, he definitely wouldn't throw it away again. Qiyu smiled and softly said, "Looks like Little Master's going to go back soon. I can finally be with Little Master in the Mystic Moon world again. Oh, there's something else I wanted to tell Little Master. The lunar scourge can preserve Lil Sis Shui Rua's body, but this is only a temporary measure. I can only leave her in there for 7 days. If Lil Sis Shui Rua's body decomposes, then even if Little Master finds those ingredients, it'll be useless. Do you have any other methods?" Ling Chen asked. Seeing as Qiyu had said this, it seemed that she had another idea in mind. "Of course. However, it all depends on Little Master's efforts. Just telling you won't be enough," Qiyu said indifferently. "Then tell me what I need to do." Ling Chen immediately replied. "Find the fairy fountain," Qiyu said, uttering a name that Ling Chen had never heard before. "Fairy fountain," Ling Chen repeated to himself. The fairy fountain is located at the origins of the fairy clan, which is the fairy realm. The water in the fairy fountain is incredibly pure. If flowers or grass float in the water, they won't wither for 1,000 years. If a body is placed inside there, it won't rot for 10,000 years, and will become even more beautiful. If you want to preserve Lil Sis Shui Rua's body for a long time, you'll need to go into the fairy realm and put her body into the fairy fountain. If you can do that, then you'll have all the time in the world to look for those ingredients," Qiyu explained. However, there was something that she didn't say. The fairy fountain was one of the most important places to the fairy clan. They wouldn't allow anything to be put inside it. Fairy clan. Fairy realm. That time when he had inadvertently gone to the fairy realm, he had caused a massive ruckus, but had luckily escaped. He originally planned to never go back, but for Shui Rua, he would once again go to the fairy realm. "Are you saying that right now, Rua's body is in the Mystic Moon world?" Ling Chen asked. Ling Chen had already been shocked too many times in this short period of time. Seeing as Qiyu could appear here, it wouldn't be too inconceivable that Shui Rua's body was within the Mystic Moon world. Was Mystic Moon actually a real world? If that was the case, what was going on with Cosmos Corporation, which supposedly developed this game? Of course she's in the Mystic Moon world. If Little Master wants to see her, then come back to Mystic Moon, and I'll immediately show you your Rua. Just as Qiyu said this, a clear and worried voice traveled from afar. Big brother, where are you? Big brother." Tian's voice sounded quite worried and distraught. Qiyu laughed. "Looks like Little Master has some things to take care of. In that case, I'll see you soon in the Mystic Moon world." Qiyu had told him all that she had wanted to say, and had received the response she wanted. She winked at him as she slowly disappeared. All that was left was the darkness. He couldn't see or hear Qiyu's figure or voice anymore. Ling Chen spaced out for a few moments, and when he came back to his senses, he wasn't quite sure whether that had really just happened, or if he was hallucinating. Tian's yells became louder and more worried. Ling Chen quickly rushed back to the villa. Tian, I'm here," Ling Chen said as he reached the bedroom. He saw that Tian had already gotten out of bed, and she leapt towards him as soon as she saw him. She grabbed onto him tightly as she said, her eyes full of tears, "Big brother, where did you go? When I woke up, I was all alone. I was so afraid." After losing her big sister, Tian was still worried that her big brother would do something stupid. She had received a big fright when she woke up in the middle of the night and found that Ling Chen wasn't next to her. Ling Chen gently patted Tian's back and said in a gentle voice, "I couldn't fall asleep, so I went to take a dip in the lake. Look, my clothes are still wet." After hugging Ling Chen, Tian's pajamas had also been dampened. Ling Chen dried himself and got changed, and gave Tian a dry pair of pajamas. He hugged Tian in his arms under the blankets, and she was finally able to settle down and fall asleep again. Ling Chen stroked Tian Tian's face tenderly like she was his own daughter. It was already quite late, but Ling Chen still didn't feel like sleeping. After hearing what Qi Yu had said, he simply couldn't calm down. Qi Yu's appearance was completely incomprehensible and inexplicable. However, this gave him a slight sense of hope for resurrecting Shui Ruo. For this sliver of hope, he was willing to put in all of his effort and believe this legend. Ruo Ruo. Ruo Ruo. Wait for me. I'll bring you back. I will. I definitely will. Ling Chen's mind returned to that catastrophic night, as well as the 3 things she had made him promise. Big brother, big sister Dia Wu, loves you so much as I do, she did so much for you, big brother, you must find her, and be with her, as well as Qi Qi and Su Su, they're all so cute and kind and pretty, they're all good enough for big brother, and all like big brother a lot, big brother can't give them to other people. I'm sure big brother will like them as well, and also big sister Bing Yao. I'm not dumb, I could tell that, she loves big brother so much, and she can also protect big brother, so big brother can't leave her either, big brother, the second thing, big brother looks the best when he's smiling, so no matter what happens, big brother has to live smiling every day, and has to be happier than anyone else, this is my biggest wish, big brother will fulfill this, right? The third thing, big brother, make sure you take care of Tian Tian. Ling Chen lifted his head up as tears flowed out of his eyes. However, his mouth had a faint smile. Ruo Ruo, even at the end of your life, all you were thinking about was me. I'll definitely do everything that I promised you. I'll go and win over those girls you mentioned, and I'll take good care of Tian Tian. I'll live happily every day, because I know Ruo Ruo hasn't truly left me. Ruo Ruo has only temporarily fallen asleep. I'll come to wake you up soon. Ling Chen had never felt so determined to accomplish something before. There had been great changes within his heart, and his destiny had also been greatly changed. Ugh, no. I want to sleep for a bit longer, Tian Tian protested sleepily. However, she still slowly opened her eyes as she gradually woke up. Within her vision was an unfamiliar ceiling. Then she remembered that this was their new home, and she was lying in a new bed. This was the first time she would be getting out of bed in their new home. Ling Chen picked her up and put her at the edge of the bed, and brought over her clothes. Here, put on your clothes and we'll go eat breakfast. After having breakfast, I'll take you to visit your big sisters. Really? Tian Tian suddenly didn't feel sleepy anymore. Of course, she knew who those big sisters that Ling Chen mentioned were. After not meeting them for more than 10 days, she missed them quite a bit. She looked up towards Ling Chen's face. Ling Chen was wearing light-colored casual clothes, and was looking much better than before. The smile on his face was quite faint, but it was natural. He had smiled at her the entire day yesterday, but those smiles all looked like they were fake and forced, which made her heart ache. Looking at the current Ling Chen, Tian Tian couldn't help but stare. His hair was orderly, and he was dressed properly, and had a faint, warm smile on his face. This was the big brother that she knew. Seeing Tian Tian stare at him, Ling Chen tapped his nose. Tian Tian, why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? Tian Tian shook her head and said, Big brother, you're different from yesterday. Really? How so? Ling Chen asked as he smiled. Tian Tian earnestly replied, Today's big brother looks better and is more likable than yesterday's big brother. Ling Chen laughed out loud. Of course, he knew what had happened. Last night, there had been great changes within his heart. Because of the hope that now existed within him, all of the pain and grief had been dispelled. After all, Shui Ruo had made him promise that he would smile and live each day happily. He would do his best to create another miracle, and reunite himself and Tian Tian with Shui Ruo. He picked Tian up and put her on his legs, and cradled her like cradling a baby. Tian, we're both quite sad about Ruo passing away. However, I believe that even if Ruo isn't alive anymore, she's still by our side and is watching us. How could she bear to leave us? So, if we wallow in our pain and anguish, Ruo, who's always watching us, will also feel that way. What she wants is that we can live happily and joyfully, that way, she can also be happy. Tian, we need to keep Ruo in our hearts, but also live happily, alright? Before Ling Chen had finished speaking, Tian's tears had already started to flow. When he finished speaking, she buried her head in his chest and cried. Because Ling Chen was her last support and family, what she was always worried about was that despite his promises, he would once again do something stupid. However, hearing his words, as well as seeing this genuine smile, she knew that she could finally be at ease. To her, Ling Chen being able to think this way was the best thing that could happen. Within the Mystic Moon world, the number 1 player in the player level rankings was now LV28. The name Ling Tian, which had once hung at the top, was now nowhere to be found. In fact, even the Sword Emperor, Feng Xiaoyu, had disappeared. The former number 1 of the Heaven rankings and the current number 1 of the Heaven rankings had all stopped leveling up, which caused much discussion and speculation in China. The chaos in Beijing had finally begun to settle down, but the news about the fugitive Ling Chen had not stopped being broadcast. Right now, virtually everyone in China knew about this person. However, not many people knew that Ling Chen was Ling Tian. This was something that was not spread by the Long family. This was because Ling Tian's fame in the virtual world was simply too great. If people started viewing Ling Chen and Ling Tian as the same person, this would cause complications for the Long family. On the guild rankings, the number 1 position still belonged to the Yan Huang Alliance. The former number 1, Heart's Dream, which was created by Ling Tian, had vanished. The top 10 places on the guild rankings were now full. Even if Heart's Dream could obtain another guild creation token, they would never be able to enter the guild rankings again. However, Ling Tian had not appeared on the day Heart's Dream was destroyed, and neither had he gone to take revenge. There was no news about him at all. It was as if he had disappeared from the Mystic Moon world. As such, there were many people spreading rumors that Ling Tian's real-life identity had been discovered by Long Tianyun, and more people believed them. East of the Azure Dragon City, at the boundary of the forest region. It had been 11 days since the girls of Heart's Dream had met Ling Tian. In the first 3 days of these 11 days, Ling Tian and his 2 sisters had gone missing, as well as Mu Bingyao. On the 4th day, the news they received completely shocked them. Ruo had died, and it wasn't known if Ling Tian and Tian were still alive. Subsequently, Heart's Dream had been destroyed. This was simply a chain of nightmares. None of the girls knew how they had kept going in these few days. The only comfort to them was that Mu Bingyao had been found, and she was gradually recovering. Today, they had arranged to meet together in the game to discuss their future. However, they didn't meet up at the northern residential district like before. This time, they met up in the forest region. The little building still belonged to them, but they would be overcome with pain whenever they entered it. Yunmeng Xian arrived first, and she was wearing a white veil as usual. Next was Su'er, then Xiao Qi and Mu Bingyao. Although Mu Bingyao's body hadn't fully recovered yet, her mind was completely fine, so she was able to enter the virtual world. This was the first time they had met up since the beginning of the nightmare. These days, none of them felt like doing anything, as they were filled with grief about Shui Ruo's death and were extremely anxious about Ling Tian and Tian. Big Sister Bingyao, are your injuries better? Yunmeng Xian asked when she saw Mu Bingyao. Normally, the 4 of them had countless things to talk about, but the atmosphere today was especially heavy. Originally, she had been surprised as to why Mu Bingyao had joined them, but now she understood.
It was because she was related to Ling Tian. However, none of this was important. No matter if it was Ling Tian or Mu Bingyao, they were here to help her. Mu Bingyao nodded. Her expression and eyes were all much colder than they had been before. Big Sister Bingyao's injuries healed so quickly. She doesn't even need treatment anymore. Xiao Qi said. Her face sank as she continued, I wonder how Big Brother Ling Tian and Tian Tian are right now. Big Sister Bingyao, is Big Brother Ling Tian really fine? Is he completely safe now? Su'er softly asked. These days, she had secretly cried many times. She had recently found out that he was alive a few days ago, and that he was at Zhongzhou. This caused her to start crying in joy, causing her parents to become quite confused. After Ling Chen arrived at Zhongzhou and contacted Guoye, Guoye had immediately told Mu Bingyao. She then passed on this information to Xiao Qi, who told Su'er and Yunmeng Xian. To them, this was the best piece of news that they had ever heard. However, they were still worried. This was because Ling Chen was still the #1 wanted fugitive in all of China. Even little kids knew of his name, what he looked like and his crimes. It would be almost impossible for him to remain in China. How would he spend the rest of his days? Don't worry, he's in a very safe place. Mu Bingyao said. If it wasn't for the fact that she was still recuperating, she would have rushed to his side immediately in order to take care of him and protect him. She knew that even though he was alive, the pain from Shui Ruo's death was even worse than dying. Great. I hope that we can meet him again soon. The girls all lapsed into silence. These 11 days had passed as slowly as 11 years. When would they be able to see him again? When they meet him again, would he be like a soulless person, unable to smile or feel emotions? At this moment, a system announcement rang in their ears. Ding, your friend Ling Tian is online. Ding, your friend Tian is online. The ordinary system announcements sounded like beautiful music to the four girls. They all stared at each other in shock, then moved almost simultaneously. They picked up their communication devices and hurriedly contacted that familiar name. Big Brother Ling Tian. Big Brother Ling Tian, Big Brother Ling Tian. Where are you? Ling Tian, you, Master. The four girls, all of them with completely different personalities, had extremely similar expressions. All of their voices trembled as their eyes misted. Just as Ling Chen came online, his communication device rang out with many familiar voices. Bing Yao's, Meng Xian's, Qi Qi's, Su Su's. All of them sounded incredibly emotional as they cried out to him. The mixture of these voices traveled into Ling Chen's heart, creating an extremely warm feeling. It had been a short 11 days, but everything had changed. He picked up his communication device as he said with a smile in his voice, I'm back. I missed you guys a lot. How have you all been? Tian. Seeing the appearance of Ling Chen and Tian, their emotions could no longer be suppressed as they all rushed over without any control. Although it was only 10 days of not seeing one another, it felt too long. All the things that had happened during this period of time was like a dream that no one would ever want to think about again. Many things had slowly changed. Putting Ling Tian's condition aside, he and Tian had at least appeared in front of them again. But Ruo had permanently left them. This truth weighed like a huge and heavy stone in their heart, and even though they had reunited, they were unable to be happy. Mu Bingyao was the fastest and appeared in front of Ling Chen so quickly that her body turned into a blur of white light. Looking at him and then looking at Tian, her snow lotus-like face reflected her heart, which was filled and written with deep emotion which normally did not belong to the frozen-hearted man-eater. There were so many things she wanted to tell Ling Chen and Tian, but once she saw them standing in front of her unscathed, she, although already quite taciturn, was moved to speechlessness. Bingyao, have your injuries recovered?
Ling Chen said as he looked at her with a light smile. During these days, the condition of her injuries were always on his mind. That night, she largely exhausted her energy, having carried him for a long period of time, before facing many strong enemies again. It was very fortunate that she made it out alive. Maybe at that point in time she had already placed herself in death's way. If not for the accidental appearance of the Xiao family later on, he wouldn't have been able to see her again. He already owed Mu Bingyao a lot, and this time she risked her life for him. So he had no reason not to cherish her well. Mu Bingyao nodded her head and lowered it to look at Tian. Like Ling Chen, she had also been separated from them for a very long time, and gently said, Tian, thank you. Right now, not only her but all the Reapers were deeply grateful to Tian from the bottom of their hearts. Ling Tian had said the other day, that if not for Tian he would have already died. In the past, they protected her because of Ling Chen's command, but after today, Tian was not just a simple girl in their eyes, but a goal that they were willing to protect. Although Mu Bingyao's voice was soft, Tian still managed to hear it. She blinked her eyes and cheerfully said, Big Sister Mu, why did you thank me? But it's really great that Big Sister Mu is fine. I was very worried that something had happened to Big Sister Mu that night. Big Brother Ling Tian. Xiao Qi and Su Er hastily ran over while Yunmeng Xian's pace was somewhat slower. Today, Ling Chen did not wear his mask as he had done in the past, and in the girl's line of sight was a well-defined jawline and dominating heroic face. They had already seen this face many times on the television, and it could be said that all of the Chinese were very familiar with it as well. Today, other than Su Er, this was their first time seeing his true appearance in such a close proximity. For a very long time, their hearts were in turmoil and were unable to remain calm as his true appearance was even more attractive and perfect than the countless photographs shown by the media. He had tugged at their heartstrings more so than they had ever expected. However, what surprised them was seeing a warm smile on Ling Chen's face instead of finding the depressed and dusky expression they had expected. Xiao Qi walked until she was the closest to him, and after a while of her lips just quivering, she said only one sentence, I missed you a lot, her eyes completely wet, no longer able to say anything more. I missed you all as well. It feels as if we have not met for a very long time. Are all of you doing fine? Ling Chen smiled as his eyes gazed across Xiao Qi, Su Er, and Yunmeng Xian's face. We are doing fine, always doing fine, but, Big Brother Ling Tian, there is still, Xiao Qi had already said half of her sentence, yet she was still unable to voice out the misfortune that happened upon Shui Ruo. She was unwilling to say it out loud, and was even more afraid that it would hurt Ling Chen. Yunmeng Xian discreetly sighed and went in front saying, Ling Tian, we feel relieved as long as you're fine. I heard that you were seriously wounded the other day. Are your injuries better now? Is the place you and Tian are staying at safe? Ling Chen still had a light smile on his face. His smile was natural without a tinge of rigidness and force. Although I have not fully recovered, I still have a decent amount of strength. It wouldn't be a problem even if I rushed into the Long family again. Tian and I are at Su Hang now. We're living at a very safe place, so you can all be rest assured. He lowered his head and placed his hands on Tian's shoulders as he said tenderly, I really have to thank Tian this time. That night, Tian carried me while walking for the entire night until even the skin of both her feet were completely torn off. Her whole body was injured after falling down numerous times, and had also guarded me for 3 days and 3 nights. If not for Tian, would not have been able to see you all again. Ling Chen's words heavily touched each of the girls' hearts as their gazes fell onto Tian, feeling pain and pity in their hearts. Just how much perseverance must it have took for such a little girl to carry a grown adult man and walk the whole night? No, this was already not just perseverance but only could be explained as a miracle. It was Tian who used all of her heart and body to create such a miracle and save Ling Chen's life. Tian, you really are too amazing. You are the most amazing girl. Xiao Qi said sincerely. Her heart was filled with deep love, respect, and gratitude towards Tian. Tian, you are great, no wonder your big brother Ling Tian's little sister. Su Er's pupils were like water, trembling softly whilst gazing at the small adorable girl that looked like a doll. The Tian that usually becomes immensely proud of herself whenever she gets complimented became embarrassed. She grabbed onto Ling Chen's hand and faced her cheeks upwards as she said softly, "Nah, not letting big brother be in danger was what I was supposed to do. Tian, you don't have to be modest about this incident, you are the true heroine this time." Yunmeng Xian said with a smile, and after that her gaze returned to Ling Chen. From the start till now, nobody had brought up the name Ruo because they were scared that it would cause a deep blow to Ling Chen. However, Ling Chen's expression was completely the opposite of what she had expected, as if he had moved on from the huge blow of Ruo's passing within such a short period of time. But, this was not possible. The feelings between him and Ruo could be seen through everybody's eyes. Ruo's death that night had caused him to barge into the Long family alone. Him in that state, and that level of affection. How could it possibly be forgotten so easily? She sighed in her heart and with a soft voice, asked, "Ling Chen, what are your plans after today?" When Yunmeng Xian said those words, the attention of all the girls turned towards Ling Chen, even Tian looked up to him, waiting for his reply. Ling Chen looked at them one at a time as he slowly retracted his expression and said to them calmly, "Although we have been together for a very long time, I had still hidden my identity so that none of you knew who I was or where I came from, whether I was a good guy or bad guy, and even not knowing how I looked like. Now that all of you know, I am not only a bad guy, but also the greatest, most terrifying kind of wickedness. Just that night alone I had killed so many people, just how much blood had my pair of hands been stained with and the number of lives I had taken, even I have already lost count. Furthermore, the people that I killed were not bad people but were actually the most sacred of all Chinese citizens. Killing the guardian god of the Chinese meant that the people that I attacked were the highest leading family of China. If I had succeeded, the people that suffered would have been the whole of China, causing the country and its people to fall into a long period of chaos. Even if the crimes of all the criminals in China were added up together, it would still be nothing compared to just me. And now, I am even the nation's most wanted fugitive, the mastermind of the organization that everyone is afraid of. However, all of you have a net worth and background that ordinary people could not even dream of. Sticking too close to me would not only be dangerous, but would also completely implicate your reputation. Don't say it anymore, we don't want to hear all this." Xiao Qi yelled loudly, interrupting Ling Chen before he could finish his lines. She bit onto her lips as she worked hard to suppress the tears of heartache and grief. Looking straight into Ling Chen's eyes, she shouted with force, "Big brother Ling Tian is not a bad person, you're not an evil person, and you're even more so not a fugitive. The big brother Ling Tian that we know, is the greatest, he's the one that lets people feel the most secure, he's the most trustworthy, the most likable, and the most respectable person. As long as big brother Ling Tian was here, no matter what was ahead of us, we would not be afraid. No matter how hard the goal was, we would have the largest confidence. Whether it's me, Su Er, or big sister Meng Xian, we have always felt that being able to meet big brother Ling Tian was really the greatest luck of our lives. It was big brother Ling Chen who brought us to witness so many novel things that we could never have imagined, completing miracles one after another that we would not even dare to have thought of. It was also big brother Ling Tian that let us acquire a brand new heart's dream, and it was also big brother Ling Tian who made us so addicted into the world of Mystic Moon. We believe in our own eyes and believe in our own heart and feelings, that even if all the people in the world are bad people, Ling Tian would not be a bad person. It was the Long family that harmed Ruorua. It was because of Ruorua that big brother Ling Tian had barged into the Long family, not even caring for your own life. How can you be a bad person when you are a person that feels deeply, is sentimental and righteous? The real bad people are the ones that harmed Ruorua, big brother Ling Tian and Tian Tian, the ones that say that big brother Ling Tian is a fugitive. It was the crazy and ridiculous Long Tian Yun. Big brother Ling Tian is not a bad person, we will only ever like big brother Ling Tian. Even if everybody in the world objects or ridicules us, we will stand beside big brother Ling Tian and will never change forever. Ling Chen, Su Er's eyes were almost overfilling with tears as she said timidly, We love big brother Ling Tian the most. Big brother Ling Tian is not a bad person and you never were one, but instead, the very best person. Ling Chen gently took in a deep breath and silently closed his eyes. There seemed to be something that was quietly moving in his heart. Yunmeng Xian gradually spoke, Xiao Qi and Su Er's words were also what I wanted to say. Although the time that we knew each other was not that long, during this period of time, if we couldn't even differentiate whether you were a bad guy or someone that we could trust, then how are we fit to be your companions? How can we, with a peace of mind, always enjoy the miracles and glory that you have brought to us with a clear conscience? Initially, they didn't plan on mentioning this matter, so as not to let Ling Chen and his emotions become even more disoriented. However, looking at his condition, it was even better than expected, thus Yunmeng Xian still decided to say it, Heart's dream has been destroyed by Long Tian Yun. Just a couple days ago. While discussing the matter, the expressions on both Xiao Qi and Su Er's faces were of grief, almost bursting into tears. That day, they could only stand and look at Heart's dream come apart while being smashed, and could do nothing to stop it. This sense of powerlessness was the feeling that made their hearts shatter into pieces. The blow that they had suffered during that time was even almost on par to the heartache they had felt for Ling Chen. Although hearing this kind of news, Ling Chen wasn't surprised at all and only clenched both his hands a little tighter as he calmly said, I knew. Actually, before coming over here, I had already thought that it would be like this, only that I did not go to confirm it. However, the one that had been destroyed was not Heart's dream, but only a form that represented our existence. We're all still here, aren't we? Yes, yes. All the girls vigorously nodded their heads as Xiao Qi said loudly, the thing that was destroyed had merely an image. I'm here, Su Er is here, Big Sister Meng Xian is here, Big Sister Mu is here, Tian Tian is here. And most important of all, Big Brother Ling Tian is here. As long as Big Brother Ling Tian is here, there are no obstacles that cannot be overcome. As long as there is Big Brother Ling Tian to lead us, there will be a time where Heart's dream would be glorious again. Big Brother Ling Tian, together with you we can make it, right? A eager look full of anticipation appeared in the girl's eyes, and towards this, Ling Chen nodded. But then shook his head as he said, Of course I will. But, the reason I came here today is to say farewell to all of you. All the girls were stupefied, even Mu Bingyao and Tian Tian just stood there with a blank stare. Big brother, where are you going? Tian Tian immediately asked as she grabbed onto his shirt. Farewell. What do you mean, farewell? Why are you saying farewell? Xiao Qi asked anxiously. Ling Tian, are you going somewhere and leaving for some time? Or are you leaving because you want peace and quiet? Yunmeng Xian, who was usually as calm as water, hurriedly spoke her words. The things that she had mentioned were the best possible outcomes she had thought of. The word farewell would normally be used for a long-term absence or as an eternal goodbye, but she refused to think that, no matter what. Ling Chen patted Tian Tian's shoulder, indicating that she did not need to worry. I have an important thing I must do and I don't want to be distracted. I may be on the move for some time. What important thing is it? Can you tell us? We could all help. Anne. How long would you be? A few days? Or a few weeks? Or, Xiao Qi became even more anxious as she rushed forward and grabbed onto Ling Chen's clothes, afraid that he would turn and leave immediately. Su-er also quickly moved and stood at his other side, looking at him with panic. Ling Chen said carefully, "It's a very important thing, a thing that is even more important than my own life. I have to complete it, and only I can complete it, nobody is able to help me. As for how long it would take, I am not sure myself, maybe a year, maybe a few years. Maybe not so exaggerated also, I could even complete it tomorrow." Ling Chen laughed, but none of the girls could laugh as their hearts were so heavy it made them almost unable to breathe. A thing more important than his life. These words let them know that they could not as well as should not persuade him otherwise. They were even unable to help. And as for the time, a few months, a few years, a few decades. How many few months, few years, and few decades would a person's life have? Let's say that he was unable to complete it after such a long duration of time, then would it mean that they would never meet ever again? The girls didn't ask again about what he was going to do, because if Ling Chen had wanted to tell them, he would have already done so. After a long silence, Yun Meng Xian faintly asked, "Then, when do you plan to move? Where will you be going?" Yun Meng Xian asked remotely after staying silent for a long time. "Immediately. As for where I am going, I do not know either. But, I will always be in the world, Mystic Moon." Ling Chen replied. The reply he had given exceeded all their expectations. Initially, they had thought that the thing more important than his life, that Ling Chen had talked about with such seriousness, would have definitely been something in the real life. Never did they expect that he would actually say that he would always be in the world called Mystic Moon. Xiao Qi said in surprise, "It's in the game world?" But the voice full of questions could not even complete more than half of its sentence. Since Ling Chen had already decided to leave and he did not want to say much, she felt that she should not ask too much. She became depressed as she switched her tone and said, "Must you really go now? Why can't you leave a few days later? It was so difficult for us to meet." "Yes, I will leave immediately, because this is the most important thing that must be completed in this lifetime of mine. I do not wish to delay it for even a minute or second, so, I can only say farewell to all of you here. Meng Xian, Qi, Su, me and Tian are very well, you all don't need to worry. The thing that all of you must do is to take care of yourself and after that, using your own method and hard work, develop heart's dream. I have to go now." He pulled Tian along and placed her little hands into Mu Bingyao's hand before bending down and gently saying, Tian, I cannot accompany you in this game any further, you must listen to the big sisters when you're with them, understand?" Before going into the game, Tian had totally not known of Ling Chen's decision. Her small head was still in confusion even at this moment, but after looking into Ling Chen's eyes, Tian, in an effort to be obedient, lightly nodded her head. Ling Chen gave a small smile before turning around, and with a wave of his hand, a big shooting star flew towards the south without reluctance, giving the girls a view of a lone back. He left. Just like that. Always, when he had occupied their thoughts, they had always felt afraid or on edge. But when they had finally met, he had already left after only saying a few short lines. They still didn't even know when they would see each other again. Mu Bingyao did not know what to do as she stared at Ling Chen's back. She too, did not know what Ling Chen was going to do. The rim of Xiao Qi and Su-er's eyes went red as they thought of how they would not know which year or month they'd see him again. For Xiao Qi, her life would come to an end in less than half year's time. As for Su-er, in also less than half year's time, she would be facing the day she had not wanted to face the most, which too, would be the day she wanted Ling Chen to appear the most. Coincidentally, they all forcefully held onto their lips at the same time while they saw Ling Chen not too far away yet already completely hazy from the mist. At the side, Yunmeng Xian stared at the direction that Ling Chen left silently as a pair of beautiful eyes became hazy like the fog underneath the veil. Even if they hated him leaving and did not want to part with him, not one went to stop him and hold him down. Because it was for something that was more important than his life, every one of them had not allowed themselves to become his burden. However, Ling Chen himself had stopped in his tracks. He turned his body around and looked at the girls who were trying their best to suppress their urge to weep. His face revealed a helpless smile. "I said to all of you, it's only separating for a period of time, it's not as if we are not seeing each other again. Why make it as if we are going to part forever? Also, it's easy to travel in Mystic Moon, so whenever I miss you all too much, I will put down all my things on hand and come back to find all of you. You never know, I may come back tomorrow. Alright, since all of you couldn't bear leaving me, and I can't bear to leave all of you, how would I bear leaving for too long? Alright, if you all can't bear it," Ling Chen faced them as he opened his arms wide, "then let's hug before separating. Big brother Ling Tian." Xiao Qi and Su Er could no longer suppress their emotions and tears as they wept, not caring about the people around. They threw themselves forward as both girls, one left and one right, hugged Ling Chen tightly. Their tears were like the water from an uncontrollable dam that had just gushed out. With two soft gems in his embrace and a fragrance that intoxicated his heart, having two gorgeous young women hugging him at the same time was a kind of luck that no ordinary man would be able to enjoy. Their cries from both left and right were as if they were telling Ling Chen their worries, heartache and their deep reluctance to separate, causing the corner of Ling Chen's eyes to be slightly moist. "Alright, don't cry anymore. I have already said that I cannot bear to leave all of you for too long, and have also promised all of you that I would work hard together with you all for the sake of Heart's Dream." Ling Chen consoled them in a low voice. Before Shui Ruo left, the first thing that she made him promise had specifically mentioned Xiao Qi and Su Er. Clearly, she could already tell that he had already quietly owed a heavy emotional debt towards these two girls. Being close sisters, she did not want to see them get hurt, and was even more unwilling to see Ling Chen hurt them because of her. As for Ling Chen, having to lose Shui Ruo made him understand further that certain people and certain things needed to be cherished, or else once you lose it, no matter how much it is, pain or regret could not bring it back. After hugging for a long while, the two flower-like girls finally left his shoulders with their eyes red from crying and an adorable redness that had surfaced on their face. Since they were young ladies, they were still shy from the bold actions they had taken, even after their hearts had gradually calmed down. Moreover, Meng Xian and Bing Yao was still there watching them. "Xiao Qi, once I leave, head over to Vermilion Bird to take a look, alright? In this world, it's not true that some things do not exist just because you think that it does not exist. You might think that it will not occur just because you think it's impossible. A lot of unimaginable wonders are actually around us, and very close to us. It's just that we have not discovered it yet. The Vermilion Bird could give you back your energy, and may even give you life." After hearing Ling Chen's words, Xiao Qi became dumbstruck and just nodded as her eyes stared blankly. This may have been the first time in her life that she, who was usually stubborn and in high spirits, had cried so disorderly. It was also at this moment that she suddenly realized how much Ling Tian actually meant to her in her heart. Just not long ago had she been simply admiring him, yet he was firmly filling and affecting her heart, silently occupying all of her. Now, no matter what was said by Ling Chen, she would still nod her head and agree. Ling Chen looked over to Yun Meng Xian as he smiled. "Meng Xian, do you want a goodbye hug?" As the sole daughter of the Yun family, she had been treated as the treasure of the entire family. Her personality was dignified and elegant, and countless people had pursued her, but not a single one could get close to her. She was the only woman who Long Tianyun truly desired, but even he could not obtain her. She had never been intimate with a man before. The most intimate she had been in the past was shaking hands. Intimately hugging a man was something that seemed out of the question. However, in her heart, only a single person had the right to be so close to her body. Meeting Ling Chen's gaze, Yunmeng Xian's heart became somewhat chaotic. Part of it was the inherent shyness of a woman who had never been intimate with a man before. However, she immediately remembered all of the things that had happened recently, as well as the fact that once they said goodbye, she wouldn't know when they could meet again. Her heart became even more chaotic, and she couldn't stop herself from walking forwards. Ling Chen also walked towards her, and gently hugged her. Yunmeng Xian's body was incredibly soft, and the fragrance from her body was enchanting. Ling Chen didn't dare to hug her too tightly, afraid that she would think he was taking advantage of her. However, he felt her arms wrapping around his back, and pulling him tighter against her. Her large and soft breasts were now pressed against his chest, and their faces were only centimeters away from each other. This was the first time he had been so close to Yunmeng Xian, and it had actually caused him to become quite flustered. His right arm was around her waist, and he almost didn't want to let go. He suddenly felt a desire to see what she looked like, and after a few moments he softly said, "Meng Xian, these days have been the lowest point in my life, and I even considered breaking my promise to you. However, you all trust me so much, so now that I'm back, I'll definitely do my best not to disappoint you. I will definitely fulfill what I promised you and Yunfeng. Even if I can't help you win your bet, I'll still help you gain control over your own destiny. Believe in me, alright?" Yunmeng Xian and Ling Chen hugged for quite a long period of time. By now, Xiao Qi and Su'er had both stopped sniffling and crying, and stared with a hint of jealousy in their eyes. Finally, Yunmeng Xian and Ling Chen separated. Under her veil, no one could see what Yunmeng Xian's expression was like, but she still looked down, as if she was too embarrassed to look at Ling Chen anymore. She said in a gentle voice, "Take good care of yourself. We'll be waiting for you." Ling Chen smiled and nodded. He looked at Meng Xian, and voiced the request he had been keeping in his heart all this time. "Meng Xian, we've known each other for quite some time now, but I still haven't seen what you look like. Can you let me see your face?" No matter if it was in the real world or within the virtual world, Yunmeng Xian would always cover her face. Beauty was an asset, but being too beautiful was also a disaster. Yunmeng Xian was very clear about this. After coming to age, covering her face had become a habit, and only her family and closest friends knew what she looked like. She was so used to this habit that even she had forgotten that Ling Chen had never seen what she looked like. Whenever they met, she was always wearing a veil. Yunmeng Xian softly nodded. How could she refuse, at this point in time? This was the least she could do for him. She slowly stretched out her hand, and lifted the veil up. Her face was finally revealed to Ling Chen. In that moment, the smile on Ling Chen's face froze. He simply couldn't draw his eyes away from her face, and he even forgot to breathe. It was as if all the beautiful waves in the world were gathered in her eyes, making her look like a stunning goddess from a world-class artist's painting. Her skin was as flawless as a piece of jade, and her mouth and nose looked as if they had been personally crafted by the gods. It was as if the heavens had put all of their resources and effort in sculpting this face. Ling Chen could almost feel himself falling into a trance as he stared at her. The feeling was as if he was falling into a bottomless pit, and yet he didn't want to stop falling. So beautiful, Ling Chen couldn't stop himself from uttering those words. He continued to stare unblinkingly at Yunmeng Xian. Devastatingly beautiful beauty that could cause the downfall of a country. Ling Chen had heard this saying many times before, but only now did he understand what it meant. It would take a single glance of hers or a single smile to bring down an entire country. At this moment, he completely understood why Yunmeng Xian would always cover her face when she went out. If she didn't do this, then she would be constantly harassed wherever she went. If she was born in ancient times, there would have been countless wars because of her, and many heroes would have sacrificed themselves for her. It was no wonder that while Long Tianyun was still a teenager, he had already said that he was determined to make her his wife. Qi Yu, that demoness, was seductively beautiful, but that type of beauty could only appear in games. However, looking at Meng Xian, Ling Chen realized that her looks weren't inferior to Qi Yu's by even a bit. While Qi Yu was seductive and racy, Meng Xian's beauty was one of elegance and purity. Qi Yu was a demoness whereas Meng Xian was a goddess. Big sister Meng Xian is so beautiful. Tian also stared, transfixed. It was also her first time seeing what Meng Xian looked like. Although she was a girl, she couldn't take her eyes off her either. You like what you see? Seeing Ling Chen and Tian stares, Meng Xian couldn't help but smile. Since she was young, whenever men looked at her, they would always stare and reveal that sort of expression. The first time Long Tianyun had met her, he had stared for many minutes, and forgot about everyone around him. However, even Long Tianyun wasn't lucky enough to see her smile. Yun Meng Xian fully embodied the saying, bringing down a city with a single smile. Her voice and the faint smile on her face caused Ling Chen to gradually come back to his senses. He looked down as he tried to regain control over his heart. When he looked up, he was once again astounded by her beauty, but he no longer lost control. He smiled, definitely, you're so beautiful that I almost don't want to leave. But you're still going to. Yun Meng Xian said softly. What I need to do is more important than my life. Ling Chen repeated what he had said earlier. Yun Meng Xian's beauty was enough for a man to devote himself to her and give up everything else. However, to Ling Chen, there was nothing else more important in the world than Shui Ruo. Meng Xian, after I leave, I'll send things to your storehouse in Azure Dragon City from time to time. I'll send memos with the things, so make sure you leave enough space. How you use those things will be up to you. I've always believed that your wisdom surpasses mine. Seeing as you made that unfair bet with your father, I'm sure you have quite a bit of determination and faith in yourself. I believe that even if you lose the bet, you'll have a way out. 2 years is enough for you to think of other ways. To be able to have these 2 years, you've already won. Yun Meng Xian's smile grew wider. What Ling Chen had said exactly reflected her own thoughts. All along, everyone thought she was just rebelling, but only Ling Chen was able to see into her heart. I'm going, please take care of Tian for me. I'll do my best and try to come back soon, because I really don't want to part with you guys. Tian, make sure you listen to your big sisters. Qi, please thank your big brother for me. I won't forget what he's done for me. Ling Chen finally turned and left. He lifted his hand up as he walked away, leaving them with an image of his back. He continued to walk, and disappeared from their vision. This time, he didn't turn around. When he left, he had been smiling and his voice had been calm and clear. As they watched his figure disappear into the distance, all of the girls' hearts ached. Because of him, Heart's Dream's goal wasn't just a mere dream anymore. With him there, any problem could be solved. With him there, they would no longer be afraid of anything. Although they had not known each other for a very long time, he had become their support. However, he had lost his most important person, and was going to do something incredibly difficult by himself. He was in the darkest moment of his life. During this time, what could I possibly do for him? All of the girls asked themselves the same question as they gazed at the direction he had disappeared in. No need. I know you're worried about me, and that you've kept me in your thoughts. I'm very grateful, Ling Chen said. You're a good friend. Although I've been made a fugitive, and everyone's been slandering me, you're still willing to stand on my side. Ruo has passed away, but before that, I was able to live happily with Ruo. That was all because of you. I will never forget the kindness you showed to us. Don't worry, I'll fulfill what I promised you. Ling Tian, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to say, let's talk after I'm back. I'm going to do something very important right now, and I don't want to think about anything else for the time being. For quite a bit of time, no one will be able to contact me. Don't try to find me either. After I'm back, we can have a good chat. Take care, goodbye. After he finished speaking, Ling Chen turned off his communication device. He wouldn't be able to contact anyone, and no one would be able to contact him. After stocking up on large amounts of potions and teleport scrolls, Ling Chen headed towards a certain forest, the fairy forest. Little Master, who would have thought that the little sister called Meng Xian would be so devastatingly beautiful. After seeing her, even I wanted to make her my pet. I could tell Little Master's heart was beating so chaotically. Qiyu said as she giggled. Truth be told, although Ling Chen had imagined how beautiful Yun Meng Xian would be, she was much more beautiful in real life. She was the only woman he knew who could compare to Qiyu. Meng Xian is indeed quite beautiful, Ling Chen replied, before looking up. When Ruo's older, she'll definitely be as beautiful as Meng Xian. Qiyu burst out laughing, and asked, then why did Little Master want to leave so quickly? You could have spent some more time with them. All 5 of those girls are as beautiful as goddesses, and any man would consider it their greatest fortune to spend time with even one of them. Little Master could have had all 5 of them, and yet just left like that. If I was a man, I definitely wouldn't have left. Right now, there is only one thing that I care about. Ling Chen flatly said. He had already made his decision, and would not change his mind. He didn't bother wasting any more words with Qiyu. After quite some time, the fairy forest appeared in front of him. Although he had been here before, he couldn't help but marvel at the purity and beauty of this place. His sole aim was to enter the fairy realm and put Ruo's body into the fairy fountain. He knew what the consequences would be, but there was no other way. Little Master, keep in mind that you'll face 3 main problems. The first one is that fairy called Ing Shui. Last time, you had escaped, but seeing as you came, they'll think that it was nature that brought you back to be with her. They will do everything in their power not to let you escape again. The second is that they will never let any outsiders touch the fairy fountain. The third is, Little Master, after you enter, how will you come out? Could it be that you'll enter the lunar sky hell again, and use the spatial stone to escape? Or will you directly use the spatial stone in the fairy realm? Ling Chen calmly looked ahead of him for a while, then walked forward with a look of determination on his face. I'll just do my best. In front of Ling Chen, a dark light flashed, and a small figure appeared. It was a girl who looked 12 or 13, with a pair of jet black eyes. She was hugging a doll wearing a princess dress. Lang'er. Ling Chen called out. He had not been around in a while, and he wondered if she had been lonely. Lang'er looked at him with her jet black eyes. Looking into her eyes made Ling Chen feel like he was looking into boundless, dark night. She stared at Ling Chen for a while, before saying in a soft voice, Master, where did you go? Ling Chen walked over to her and stroked her hair. Now, Lang'er was already fine with him touching her. Ling Chen said warmly, I had to do some things, so I couldn't spend time with Lang'er. It's all Master's fault. Did you miss me? Lang'er's eyes blinked as she thought for a while. She softly nodded her head, and said in a small voice, yes. Ling Chen smiled, and took out 2 new dolls. Master likes Lang'er more and more. Look, these are some pretty dolls for Lang'er. I missed Lang'er as well. In future, I won't leave Lang'er for that long anymore, alright? Lang'er's eyes lit up as soon as she saw the dolls. She hugged the 2 dolls in her arms, and revealed an extremely happy smile. After following Ling Chen, Lang'er began to smile more and more, and her smiles gradually more natural. Ling Chen called out Xiao Qi, and together with Lang'er, they walked into the fairy forest. After Ling Chen left, the girls all felt a bit dazed. They wanted to talk with Ling Chen more, but found that they couldn't contact him. From now on, unless Ling Chen appeared, they wouldn't be able to see him, and wouldn't even be able to hear his voice. Xiao Qi's mind rang with Ling Chen's words over and over again. She gripped her clothes as she finally made a decision that she would not allow herself to regret. Big Sister Meng Xian, Big Sister Bing Yao, Su'er, Tian, from today, I won't be able to see you all for a long time, All of the girls looked at Xiao Qi in shock. Su'er hurriedly grabbed onto her hand as she asked, Qi, are you all right? Is it because your illness has gotten worse? Big brother Ling Tian just left, we can't lose you as well. Xiao Qi shook her head and turned to the south as she replied, do you remember what I told you about the vermilion bird? I'm going to go ahead with that. Vermilion bird, but Qi, do you really think that a creature in the game world can cure you? Plus, you said that it'll take many months, if not years, your body is already, Yunmeng Xian wanted to say that Xiao Qi's body wouldn't be able to handle the illness flaring up again, however, she wasn't able to say it. I may not be able to believe the vermilion bird or that a creature in the game world can cure me. However, I believe in Big Brother Ling Tian. He said that he thinks it's possible, so I'll try it. Even if it can't cure me, but it said that it can make me more powerful. If I become stronger, maybe I can do something for Big Brother Ling Tian. So please don't try to stop me, alright? Back when things were going well for Heart's Dream, I could only reap the benefits, but I couldn't contribute anything. Now that such a big thing has happened, and Big Brother Ling Tian has been hurt so much, I couldn't do anything to help him. Even if I have a bit of power to help Big Brother Ling Tian beat the Yan Huang Alliance, that'll be enough. Xiao Qi bit her lips. The more she spoke, the more useless she felt, and the more determined she became. Her words struck each of the girls in their hearts. Finally, Yunmeng Xian opened her mouth. She sighed, and said, he has something magical about him that makes every word he says seem believable. Qi, if you really want to go, then go, perhaps a miracle really will happen. Xiao Qi raised her head and looked at them, I want to go right now. Why are you in such a hurry? Su'er was surprised. Because I'm afraid that if I wait too long, I won't be able to leave you guys. Xiao Qi's eyes became red. As she spoke, she took out a teleport scroll for the Vermilion Bird City, Big Sister Meng Xian, Big Sister Bing Yao, Su, Tian, I'm going now. Don't worry about me, I'm not going to do anything dangerous. I'll just be away for a while. Maybe it'll go really well, and I'll be back in a few days. You all need to take care yourself. Don't let me see that you guys have gotten skinner when I'm back. At this point, Xiao Qi was barely able to hold back her tears. She gritted her teeth and shattered the scroll, then disappeared. Qi. Su'er couldn't help but call out as she watched Xiao Qi disappear. She stood in shock, and took out a teleport scroll as she also shattered it. Yunmeng Xian was about to say something, but then stopped. She watched as Su'er disappeared as well. She knew that Xiao Qi and Su'er had grown up together, and were incredibly closer than real sisters. They had pretty much spent their whole lives together, and would often sleep on the same bed. How could Su'er bear to be apart from Xiao Qi for such a long time? In the end, she chose to follow Xiao Qi to the Vermilion Bird City to say farewell. Xiao Qi picked up her communication device and contacted Xiao Qiufeng. Big brother, I'll be staying online for a long time, maybe even a few months. Can you help me arrange the life support systems and look after them? If something goes wrong with them, your little sister's body might be damaged, what? Xiao Qi's words greatly shocked Xiao Qiufeng. He frowned as he replied, staying online for a few months? What are you doing? You're joking, right? I'm completely serious. It might just be a few months, but it could be, even longer. Absolutely not. Seeing that Xiao Qi was serious, Xiao Qiufeng immediately refused. Don't do this, Qi. If you do that, you'll definitely hurt your body. And also, it'll be too dangerous if your illness flares up during that time. Don't worry about me. You know, this is actually to cure my illness. If I do this, then on the day I come out, my illness could be fully cured. Xiao Qi said in a relaxed manner. What? Xiao Qiufeng was completely surprised. Qi, what are you doing? Just believe in me, big brother. Having such a great big brother and dad makes me very reluctant to just die. As such, I'll do my best to keep living. It was big brother Ling Chen who told me this method, but I need to keep it a secret from big brother. When I come out, you'll receive a big surprise. Alright, I'll leave everything to big brother. Oh, and also, big brother Ling Chen asked me to thank you. He said that he'll always remember what you've done for him. During this period, you and dad need to take care of yourselves. Don't worry about me, and don't force me out of the game, no matter what. Alright, bye-bye. Qi. Xiao Qi ended the conversation, and Xiao Qiufeng immediately tried to call her back. However, Xiao Qi had already turned off her communication device. Xiao Qiufeng's emotions were in a complete mess. What's Qi doing? She said that her illness could be cured. Is this true? Is this even possible? It is, it has to be real. Xiao Qiufeng rapped on his head with his knuckles, trying to make himself feel more positive. His mind rang with the last words Xiao Qi had said. Ling Chen had charged into the Long family's residence by himself, causing terror and chaos. He had killed countless guards, and many of the Long family's elite soldiers. Even Murong Xiong Tian, Xianyuan Sheng and Xianyuan Dao, the strongest bodyguards of the Long family, had been defeated by him. This monster, was simply incredible. When Xiao Qiufeng and his father had first heard about the death count in the Long family, they had both trembled. The Long family was utterly terrified of Ling Chen. Indeed, no one wouldn't be afraid of such a person. This was evidenced by the fact that they had made Ling Chen a national fugitive and had locked down Beijing. They had even mobilized the national army to look for him. Right now, the only thing they wanted was to have Ling Chen dead. If they knew that he was still alive, they would do anything in their power to destroy him. To have someone like this feel so grateful to him and owe him a favor. Xiao Qiufeng wondered how this favor would be repaid. It seemed that helping him that night had been the right decision. After Xiao Qi ended the call with Xiao Qiufeng, she immediately turned off her communication device. She didn't have any expectations or hopes for her illness to be cured. All she wanted was more power, in order to help Ling Chen and the other girls. What she had said was to let her big brother and dad be at ease, so they wouldn't worry as much. As for what would actually happen, she left that up to her fate. At the very worst, she would just waste the last few months of her life. As if they shared a mental connection, Xiao Qi suddenly turned around and saw Su'er standing behind her. Su'er's eyes were red, and Xiao Qi smiled and went over to hug her. I knew that Su would have definitely followed me. Woo, Su'er started to cry out loud, and her tears dampened a large patch on Xiao Qi's shoulder. She was a girl who cried easily, and had cried many times in the past few days. Xiao Qi started to sniffle as she smiled in a reassuring manner. Alright, Su, it's not like I'm going to do something dangerous. It's just that I won't be around for a bit. You never know, maybe I'll be cured by the time I come back, and will be even stronger in the game. Perhaps I'll be as strong as big brother Ling Chen, But I don't want to be apart from Qi. What will I do without Qi? Woo, Su'er started to cry even harder. She was usually always with Xiao Qi, and they were quite emotionally dependent on each other. This time, they would separate for a long time, and she might not even be able to see her ever again. Su'er simply couldn't calm down. Su'er couldn't bear to part with Xiao Qi, and Xiao Qi didn't want to part with Su'er either. They were both quite attached to each other. In all these years, the longest they had ever separated for was 3 days. Hearing Su'er's voice, and seeing her tears, Xiao Qi felt even more reluctant to go, and started to rethink her decision. She gently pushed Su'er away, and held onto her hands as she looked into her eyes, saying, Su, do you remember, a few years ago we talked to a fortune teller. That fortune teller said that we'll be together forever. I believe that fortune teller was right. In order to be sisters forever, it's worth it for me to leave for a little while. Xiao Qi let go of Su'er's hands, and summoned her mount. She climbed onto it, and waved at Su'er as she smiled, my little Su, wait for your big sister to come back. You're not allowed to cry anymore, alright? After speaking, Xiao Qi gritted her teeth, hardened herself, and charged forwards on her mount. As soon as she left, the smile on her face disappeared, and her tears wouldn't stop flowing. Su, I don't want to leave you either. But so that we can be sisters forever, I'm willing to believe big brother Ling Chen. I'll definitely come back. Su'er watched as Xiao Qi left, and stood there, unmoving. She stood for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but still wasn't willing to leave. At this moment, the peacefulness of the Vermilion Bird City Central Square was shattered by an ear-piercing yell. 15 days, 15 freaking days. We've walked around in this town 800 times, I can even remember what all the pigs look like. Can't we go somewhere else? I'm goddamn sick of this place. The stars have decreed that this is the place. The Vermilion Bird City is vast, how can we find the person in a measly 15 days? Brother Xiao, I'll have to trouble you to accompany me for a few more days. God freaking damn it, you're not willing to find out the heaven's secrets, and you'd rather use some crappy stars. If those stars are so useful, why would you even use those heaven's secrets? The stars and heaven's secrets are different. The stars point in a general direction, and don't give any specifics. Brother Xiao, please stay for another 3 days. If we still can't find the person, then I will accept that our destinies have not been connected yet, and will look elsewhere. The two voices were coming closer and closer. These were 2 old men. One of them looked around 60 years old, and half of his hair and beard was white. He was wearing tattered, gray clothing, which looked somewhat clean. Although he was an old man, but he would hop and skip around as he walked, and his expressions were quite comical. The other old man looked around 70 or 80 years old. He was wearing a green Taoist robe, and held a horsetail whisk in his hands. His hair completely white, and was so long that it reached his waist. His gaze was deep and calm, as if he was some sort of immortal. Despite how raucous the old man beside him was, he did not seem agitated at all. The atmosphere he gave off was one of seriousness and tranquility, and the way he walked made it seem like he was walking on clouds. It was quite strange to see these 2 completely different old men walking together. Indeed, these 2 old men were the sect leader of the Fengchen sect, Xiao Fengchen, and the sect leader of the Heaven's Secret sect, Taoist Tianqing. After escaping from the lunar sky hell, Xiao Fengchen went to find Taoist Tianqing for 2 reasons. The first was to meet up with an old friend who he hadn't seen for 1,000 years. The second was to help Ling Chen with his issue, which resulted in him being dragged into helping Taoist Tianqing find a successor. Originally, they had relied on Xiao Fengchen's Fengchen technique to run around aimlessly. One day, Taoist Tianqing saw something in the sky, which directed them to the Vermilion Bird City. As such, Xiao Fengchen was dragged to stay in the Vermilion City for half a month. He was forced to use his Fengchen technique countless times, and yet they still couldn't find anyone with the qualifications to become the successor of the Heaven's Secret sect. Xiao Fengchen had long since run out of patience. The hell? Another 3 days? This stupid place doesn't even have any beauties, how can it have the sort of person you're looking for? Screw it, I'll just accept that I owed you in my past life or something. If it wasn't for that boy, I would have ditched you ages ago. Daoist Tian Qing had already become used to Xiao Fengchen's ramblings. No matter how much Xiao Fengchen cursed and complained, Daoist Tian Qing's heart remained calm. He knew that Xiao Fengchen couldn't control that mouth of his, and that he was doing his best to help him. In fact, Xiao Fengchen had even begun to view this as a personal matter. Daoist Tian Qing laughed as he said, I'll have to trouble Brother Xiao then. If I really can find a successor, I will definitely help Brother Xiao with Ling Tian's matters. Che, my only friend from back then who's still alive is you old thing. If you die, who would keep me company? Alright, hurry up and find your successor and get them to do it. Try to live for a few more years, eh? Xiao Fengchen suddenly stopped walking. He looked forwards as his eyes shone. Wow, what were we talking about before? Who would have thought that there would be such a cute girlie in the Vermilion Bird City? Brother Xiao, don't scare. Hey, Brother Xiao. AI, Daoist Tian Qing knew that Xiao Fengchen was definitely going to use the Fengchen curses to mess with the girl. This was how Xiao Fengchen was. When he was excited, he would always act rashly and stupidly. Daoist Tian Qing couldn't stop him at all, and could only sigh. He hoped that Xiao Fengchen wouldn't be too excessive. From what he had just said, it seemed that he wanted to use the Fengchen curses to make the girl acknowledge him as her foster grandfather. Which curse would he use? That was the question. I definitely can't use the really harsh ones. I'll use a complete and utter belief curse. Xiao Fengchen's monkey-like eyes flashed, and directed a complete and utter belief curse at Su'er. Immediately, he put on an extremely distressed and pitiful expression and cried out as he ran at Su'er, Ah! Granddaughter, my good granddaughter. I've finally found you. I'm your long-lost grandpa. After Xiao Qi left, Su'er continued to stare towards the south. This sudden voice gave Su'er a fright, and what she saw when she turned around frightened her even more. It was a skinny old man wearing tattered clothing rushing over with an extremely emotional expression. She quickly stepped backwards as she yelled, No, you've got the wrong person. I'm not your granddaughter, I'm just a player. I definitely can't be your granddaughter. Xiao Fengchen immediately stopped running, and his jaw dropped. Xiao Fengchen had lived for over 2,000 years. The Fengchen curses he used were at the absolute pinnacle, even the moon goddesses were affected by them. They were always guaranteed to work. The number of existences that were on par with the moon goddesses could be counted on a single hand, and this girl definitely wasn't one of them. Even from afar, Xiao Fengchen and Daoist Tian Qing could tell that she was incomparably weak. And yet, this complete and utter belief curse had no effect on her. This girl had looked at him with innocence, shock and fear, and denied that she knew him. Once a person was affected by the complete and utter belief curse, they would believe anything that the user said, with no exception. However, this cute little girl evidently wasn't affected. Xiao Fengchen was completely dumbfounded, and even Daoist Tian Qing was shocked. This was impossible. After Xiao Fengchen had lived for 1,000 years, his Fengchen curses had only failed once. That was when he had met that little monster Ling Tian in the lunar sky hell. The reason why his curses had no effect on Ling Chen, and had even backfired was simple: Ling Chen's mental energy was far too powerful, and Xiao Fengchen's mental energy simply couldn't compare to it. Somehow, this cute and weak-looking girl had resisted the curse. From the incredibly weak and kind look in her eyes, it didn't seem like she had incredibly strong mental energy. This, ha 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 ha. Seeing Su'er staring at him in fright, Xiao Fengchen could only awkwardly laugh. The hell? Did my Fengchen curse just fail? No way, maybe I'm rusty. I'll try again. Utter Despair Curse. The Complete and Utter Belief Curse was one of the lower-tier curses, whereas the Utter Despair Curse was an intermediate-level Fengchen curse. Even Ling Chen wasn't able to use it yet. Once someone was affected by the Utter Despair Curse, they would lose interest in everything, as well as lose all motivation for living. The only change in the girl after Xiao Fengchen used the Utter Despair Curse was that she looked even more frightened, as well as alert. Evidently, she saw Xiao Fengchen as a crazy old man. Deity Curse. Complete Cold-Heartedness Curse. Striptease Curse. Fudge. Xiao Fengchen had tried low-level curses to high-level curses, using 5 in a row. And yet, Su'er seemed completely unaffected. When his 5th Fengchen curse had been rendered ineffective, he started to jump up and down as he yelled at Daoist Tianqing, "Holy fudgesticles! Old thing, this girl isn't affected by my Fengchen curses. Fudge! She's the one you're looking for." There were 3 possibilities for why a Fengchen curse could fail. The first was because the target's mental energy was far stronger than Xiao Fengchen's. The second was that the target's overall strength was far above Xiao Fengchen's. The gap needed to be so large that Xiao Fengchen's mental energy couldn't make up for it. The third possibility was much rarer than the first 2, and that was that the target had a completely pure and innocent heart. This sort of person would not be affected by even the strongest Fengchen curse. The qualifications for becoming the successor to the Heaven's Secret Sect was that one must have a heart that was completely devoid of evil and malice, one that was absolutely pure. However, having a completely pure heart was virtually impossible. Apart from newborn babies, who could be completely free of evil thoughts? Even someone who had never done an evil deed in their life was bound to have harbored some evil thoughts at some point in their life. Moreover, good could not exist without evil, and evil could not exist without good. Finding a being that was completely devoid of evil was simply far too difficult. However, this didn't mean that it was impossible. When a person's soul was pure to the extreme, their evil side would be gradually suppressed, until it was completely covered. Although it was still there, it would be completely suppressed by their overwhelming purity, as if it wasn't there. The girl in front of them was evidently this sort of person, the person that Daoist Tianqing wanted to find. The Fengchen curses being ineffective against her was the best, and most direct, proof. When the first Fengchen curse had failed, Daoist Tianqing's eyes had lit up. As Xiao Fengchen's expression became more and more outraged, he had become more and more ecstatic. This girl looked incredibly meek and pure, and there was not a single trace of impurity on her. There was no doubt about it. She was the type of person he was trying to find. The stars had not cheated him, he had indeed found the person in the Vermilion Bird City. Whether the person was male or female was not important at all. To be able to find a successor was Daoist Tianqing's greatest wish. If he couldn't find a successor within 30 years, when his time was up, the Heaven's Secret Sect would disappear forever. He was incredibly excited as he stared at the young girl in front of him. At this moment, Xiao Fengchen started to congratulate Su'er. He charged over to her with a whoosh, as if he was afraid that she would run away. Seeing Xiao Fengchen flash over at an incredible speed, Su'er became even more frightened. Xiao Fengchen began to holler, "Girlie! Great blessings! Great blessing are about to be showered on you. You see that old guy with the white hair? Hurry up and become his disciple. He's the sect leader of the Heaven's Secret Sect, one of the 3 sects founded by the Night Demon Clan's 3 sages. Hurry up. Don't miss this opportunity." Su'er was completely terrified at this point. Her face was incredibly pale as she held her hands out in front of her and retreated, her eyes wide and full of fear. Daoist Tianqing, who was normally incredibly calm, now felt like throwing Xiao Fengchen into the pigsty so he could be repeatedly violated by those pigs. Any normal person would think that Xiao Fengchen was crazy, and would run away from him. Daoist Tian Qing hurriedly went up to Su'er and swished his horsetail whisk before bowing and saying, "Little friend, please don't be afraid. My friend is quite enthusiastic and raucous, but he bears no ill will towards you. I am the sect leader of the Heaven's secret sect, and I have searched my entire life for a successor. Little friend, you have an incredibly pure heart, and are a perfect candidate. I would like to invite this little friend to become part of my Heaven's secret sect. Are you willing?" Currently, Daoist Tian Qing felt exactly the same way as Xiao Fengchen had felt when he met Ling Chen in the lunar sky hell. He was terrified that this little girl wouldn't be willing. No matter if it was the Fengchen sect or the Heaven's secret sect, finding a successor was simply too difficult. Being able to find one was an incredible stroke of luck. Moreover, Daoist Tian Qing only had 30 years left in his lifespan. If he couldn't find a suitable successor within 30 years, he would become the greatest sinner of the Heaven's secret sect. As such, he had to convince Su'er no matter what. Daoist Tian Qing was like an ancient immortal, and his voice was infused with a bit of the power of the Tao. It made all hearers of his voice feel that they could trust him and become close with him. However, this didn't help the current situation much. Su'er had just been standing there when a crazy old man had suddenly started babbling at her, while the other old man asked her to become his disciple. She had never heard of the Heaven's secret sect before, and it was virtually impossible for her to agree. Su'er rarely left the house, and usually only interacted with her family and her close friends. She wasn't used to interacting with strangers, and these two men were simply too intimidating. She hurriedly shook her head as she stuttered, no. I need to do something, goodbye." After speaking, she quickly turned to leave.